I'm Carrie Lake with a look at your Fox 10 Facebook news update. New information about the death of the US Airways employee killed at work. Eric Kunis was stabbed to death by a fellow employee. According to a police report, it was a light bulb that sparked a fight between the two. The county attorney will decide whether or not to press charges. An arrest in a hit-and-run crash involving a school bus. Tempe police say Renee Scuzzari turned herself in after an anonymous tip. 29 students were on the bus at the time of the crash. Thankfully, no serious injuries. A vote by Valley bus workers could affect your morning commute tomorrow. Some Valley bus workers have been working without a contract since June, and they've now voted to strike. If workers walk off the job, more than 60% of routes, especially ones in central Phoenix, will be affected. And can you believe it? The last day of the monsoon. We've had some wild storm activity this season. And tonight we're revisiting some of the most incredible survival stories from around the valley. And here's a look at your 10-day forecast. We'll stay above 100, very hot until the weekend. And then we bring it down to temperatures that are a little more doable. And that's your Fox 10 Facebook news update. Have a great day.
Those numbers don't look very fall. I need some fall numbers. I need some fall temperatures. Carrie mentioned just now, oh, hi, welcome to Fox 10 News Now. I'm Kinsey Schofield. Carrie had mentioned monsoons, and so I wanted to bring you, and where is my monsoon video? We had some greatest hits, if you will, of the monsoon season, because today is the last day, as you know, of monsoon season. And let me find this for you. Take a look at this. I don't know if anyone that's currently watching is familiar with the television show Saved by the Bell, but that music was very Saved by the Bell-ish. What I heard was very Saved by the Bell. Let's head into some local stories before we get into the UN video. I have you, I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that Dave Muncy has officially been here for 40 years. And we have some great video of that for you. Let me take a look and see if I have the long version. I'd love to bring that to you. Oh, so sweet.
You may have seen these billboards all over town.
Wow.
We are celebrating Dave Muncy's 40th year on the air here at Fox 10. It was Channel 10 back then. It was cool back then when he started. And we wanted everyone to know about this, so we spared no expense.
That's cool.
Presenting you with a
That's amazing.
A mock-up as well, Dave.
And boy, do I appreciate it.
Did you just drive around town all morning looking at billboards?
I did see one. I did see one.
He put 500 miles on his car this morning alone.
I sent Bunny out with her camera this afternoon. I said, could we get a picture of one of those? So she's scouting.
So she's still out there driving, right?
With a camera around her neck.
Dave, I said on Facebook, it's remarkable anybody does anything for 40 years, except breathe and live, you know, and that's a miracle too. But to stay in this job, in this business, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's surprising to me.
You know what really surprised Dave was this. The governor, Doug Ducey, sending out his congratulations on Twitter. Dave was taking pictures of this. The governor saying, congratulations to the best dressed weatherman on TV. Arizona icon, Fox 10 Dave, celebrating 40 years today. And let's take a look back on this man's amazing career. Dave is not only one of the greatest people here at Fox 10, he is a community treasure.
Dave Muncy here with the weather with an incredible backdrop. Dave?
Mary Jo, this backdrop is a natural air conditioner. As we come back to Civic Plaza here and take a look around, we'll look at the national map that we have out. Thunderstorm activity, as you can see, is occurring all throughout the southwest, extending into Colorado.
Now, Fox 10 weather with Weather Authority Dave Muncy.
We're going to be talking about some of the weather in Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. No, it was rain, actually. And lots of rain throughout Argentina as those folks had flooded streets and high winds with it. But you can see the aftermath of all of those problems that they were having in our quest to cover weather around the world. Tomorrow, Morocco. Well, hi, everybody. Here we are in the holiday season for the 36th annual lighting of the Christmas tree here in the Weather Center. Are we ready with the lights? Thank you all for attending. Merry Christmas.
You hear the phrase, watch your kids around water, and who do you think of? Dave Muncy, of course.
13 years ago, friends of mine lost a child to a drowning incident. Since then, I've made it a point to end my weather reports with the warning, watch your children around water.
Declared June 11th, 2009, Dave Muncy, Watch Your Kids Around Water Day in Tempe, Arizona.
I think about the ones I don't save. You know, you think about the ones that you're not getting the message out to. And that's why you keep getting the message out.
Now, we need to make very clear here, as the cake rolls out.
Oh, we heard there was a party.
This is a party. You're not going anywhere. I mean, we don't want people to think you're retiring.
It's like a goodbye tape, but it's not.
He's aiming for 50
Wow.
years, maybe 60.
Guys.
Wow, that's amazing.
Don't tip it too much. We're going to have
We
to
didn't do the cake in the face,
is
are
awesome.
Is this a proper use of interns to carry this thing out?
Whatever it takes, Dave. Congratulations, man.
Dave, we're the lucky ones.
my
I know you
goodness.
feel lucky to have worked for 40 years here, but we feel lucky to be able to work with you, and you make us laugh every day.
And I just, you know, Dave, the thing is, you're not just occupying a place for 40 years, you're making an impact for 40 years here. And when I posted on my Facebook page today, everybody's talking about watch your kids around water and the Christmas tree. And when I go out to dinner with you, people love you. People swarm Dave. So
I think the thing I want to say too, though, is Dave keeps it loose. He's a jokester of all kinds. I mean, he comes in, we're running around, and he just keeps it loose and keeps it light and keeps us moving forward, Dave.
Can you do 40 more, Dave?
Well,
That'd be something.
that would be something, I tell you
Now
what.
we're talking Guinness. Forget
Yeah.
records of Channel 10. That's Guinness stuff.
You'd be bringing Geritol out instead of cake. But yeah, I probably could. You never know. I'm not going anywhere for a while, so we'll see. And it's because I love working with you guys.
Likewise, Dave.
Congratulations.
Great 40 years.
It's an honor.
And the community loves you. Thank you, Dave, for all you've done.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you all. Thank all of you.
Finger right in there.
Yeah, let's cut the cake.
Looking pretty good
go.
there, Dave.
Oh, it's not bad. Picture on a cake.
You made it. You finally made it.
And you got the gold Rolex, right?
There you go. No, they took my gold watch away. But that's the way they do it.
We'll be right back.
What a sweet scene here at Fox 10. I love that. I love Dave. And I mean this respectfully. I say this respectfully. What a handsome man, Dave. He is, but what a handsome man he was. And, let's see. I've got some additional... Oh, what is this? Oh, what is this? What am I looking at? It looks like John Hook is Dennis the Menace.
And they had all... You know, tonight we...
Something that's going to help the community.
You know, tonight we got the kids back here, Stuart, Alex, Justin, Jordan, Amy. They're supposed to be in the pool. They had permission and they had all the things going for them, but Dave Muncy joins us now with kids who shouldn't go in that pool. And Dave, 9 times out of 10, it seems, it's that gate around the pool.
That's the big thing, John, you bet. And we're in a beautiful pool area right now. One of the nice things about it is it's very protected, got a nice fence. In fact, let me talk to you about that fence just a bit. That fence should be 5 feet tall. It should have no more than 4 inches between the spaces. It should open outward, and it should have a self-closing, self-latching gate. And if you're not using it, lock it. Come here, let me show you something. If you build the gate near a lawn area, make sure that you have some concrete on the other side of the lawn area, because they can dig a hole right here and get up and underneath. And this one you can't do that because the concrete was right here. But we've had 2 drownings this year from children that have dug in a hole underneath this thing and then gotten up into the pool. So make sure that when you gate that pool, that you close the gate, you lock the gate, you secure the gate, and you make sure there's no other way in there. Because if there's a way in, take the gate down, it's not doing you any good. We want to remind people that when you put a pool in and you put the gate in and you make sure all of these things are secure, don't forget about it year after year. Go back every year and check it. Make sure, even in the wintertime, that everything is working. We did have a broken latch this year. That latch cost the life of a child. Costs $10 to replace it. So make sure that you check these things, you rattle everything. Just make sure that it's secure, because these things can fall apart, they get weathered, things can erode underneath them. So make sure you do the safety checks once you get the safety in place.
So true.
Good advice, Dave. We have much more still to come on Fox 10 Safe Summer,
including a look at some of the items around your house that you've got to watch out for. They can be a danger. It looks.
I cannot deal with the vintage hook. I love it. I think Samia showed a lot of these videos earlier, but I can't help but get a kick out of them myself. The way that he used to, I don't know if that's normally the way he would do weather on that board, or, oh no, he had a green screen. Wow, look at this intro again. You have to look at this Fox 10 weather intro again. Oh, listen to that
now,
music.
Fox 10 weather with Weather Authority Dave Muncy.
Weather Authority.
Hi, everybody. Some strange weather around here over the weekend with some of that storm activity. We normally don't get that at this time of year.
That intro is everything, and the pixelated
big picture
earth.
up here. We can see South America. In fact, we're going to be talking.
Declared June 11th, 2009, Dave Muncy, Watch Your Kids Around Water Day.
In Tempe, Arizona. We can't thank you enough for what you do, not only for Tempe, but for...
All right. I enjoyed those clips of Dave Muncy, and I hope you did too. Now let's get back to some other local news. I saw in the chat room someone talking about Sheriff Joe. Let's get an update.
Sheriff Arpaio in the contempt of court hearing today.
Fox 10's Andrew has been live outside of federal court. He's been listening to what's been going on inside. The sheriff on the stand today.
And testimony has wrapped up for the day, John. This was actually kind of unexpected. Arpaio's former attorney was on the stand this morning, Tim Casey. Then another one of his top aides took the stand. That testimony wrapped up pretty quickly, and around 4:30 this afternoon, they called Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He was on the stand for about 25 minutes, and this is expected to be a long and grueling testimony from the sheriff. The ACLU started off with a pretty open-ended question that I think kind of speaks to where they're going with the sheriff's line of questioning. They asked the sheriff, do you believe that the rule of law is the law of the land, or do you think one person could be above the law? And the sheriff replied, no. Then they proceeded to play interview clips that the sheriff gave after the judge's ruling, where he was a defiant sheriff saying that he was going to continue to enforce federal immigration laws and cracking down on illegal immigrants, even though the judge had ruled earlier that he had to stop those activities. The sheriff said on the stand today that he felt there was some kind of legal leeway where he could still enforce immigration law despite the judge's order. All this is going to be hammered out over the next couple of days. The sheriff expected back on the stand tomorrow morning. Reporting live at Federal Courthouse in downtown Phoenix, I'm Andrew Hasbin, Fox 10 News.
A Valley man who moved here as a refugee during the civil war in Sudan 15 years ago, part of the so-called Lost Boys, is now doing everything he can to bring his wife and kids to Arizona. He's worked at a Phoenix grocery store since he moved here, and tonight longtime customers are helping make that dream a reality. And today, Mark Martinez got a chance to talk to him, and Mark shares his story with us tonight. Mark.
Yeah, that's right. The man came to Arizona in the year 2000. He was fleeing here, South Sudan, and his wife and family, though, they are still here in Uganda. He's trying to get them to come to America. He says when he landed in Phoenix, he immediately felt safe, and that is the feeling he wants for his wife and children, and some friends are helping that become a reality. Santino Nyong came to Arizona as a refugee in the year 2000, one of the original group of over 20,000 lost boys of Sudan, separated from their families during the Sudanese civil war. Now he's fighting for his wife and 2 children to come to America.
If they come to this country, I will be so happy. Nothing really, I think, will replace that.
Santino became a U.S. citizen in 2007. He married his wife during a trip to Africa in 2010. They've had 2 kids, a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl. He's hoping to bring the family to Phoenix and raise his kids here.
And war never stopped. So I don't even see my kid go through what I went through. That is why I love to have my kid here in this country, to be safe.
Santino works at a Fry's grocery store in North Phoenix, where regular customer John Chandler became a close friend. He helped set up the GoFundMe account to raise enough money to reunite the family.
Santino had a nice donation Monday morning, about floored me and honestly brought tears in my eyes. An organization or company called New Beginnings LLC. They donated $500.
But here in America, yeah, it's a very good country, very good land, I can say that. So I love to see my kid here. That's all what my concern is. And also to provide anything they want as a father, as a daddy.
Yeah, Santino works full-time. He's also going to college. He's trying to raise as much money as he can on his own, but he definitely needs as much help as he can. He's hoping to have the family all together by Christmas if possible. If you'd like more information and a link to that GoFundMe account, we have that on our website, fox10phoenix.com. Reporting live, Mark Martinez, Fox 10 News.
Oh, I greatly appreciate Mark for bringing that story to our attention. You can head over to fox10phoenix.com as seen on TV to get a link to help out that family. This is an interesting story. Great get by Linda Williams.
And first on Fox tonight, it was a crime that shocked so many this summer and left a family outraged and calling for justice.
A man stabbed inside the US Airways Flight Training Center.
Police say it was a co-worker who stabbed him after the two got into a fight. That man has not been charged. Our Linda Williams is live with how this all began. Linda.
The police report says that what started out as an argument between Eric Coonens and fellow flight simulator tech George Hayes was actually over replacing light bulbs on a screen. Well, they say that totally blew up out of control, and what started out as a confrontation ended with Coonens dead from a stab wound. Eric Coonens had worked at the US Airways flight training facility in Phoenix for 7 years. He worked the overnight shift as a technician, maintaining the flight simulators pilots train on. According to the Phoenix police report, before 4 a.m. during his shift on July 15th, Coonens got into an argument with fellow technician, 52-year-old George Hayes Jr. In the police report, Hayes told investigators the men were arguing over where a light bulb was placed in the stockroom when he says Coonens, quote, blew up, hit him in the face, and as Hayes says he was falling back, his right arm with the screwdriver came up, hitting Coonens. Police recovered a screwdriver like this from Hayes. Coonens died at the scene, a single puncture wound in his left side upper back. That was according to the police report. His family, who live out of state, say they are outraged. No charges have been filed against Hayes.
There's something wrong. I don't care. You don't need witnesses. And George Hayes admitted that he stabbed Eric. What witness do you need? It's in the police report. He's admitted that he stabbed Eric.
Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery.
We are currently reviewing that matter, so it has been presented to the office to take a look at, and there are allegations of self-defense in that particular case. So that's something that we have to look at very carefully.
Eric's friends have launched this Facebook page calling for justice. His brother Howard says they will continue to push for charges against George Hayes Jr.
We've already started firing off letters to the Justice Department. We are going to fire off letters to the FBI. We have a private investigator that's looking into things. So we're not going to stop. And we're going to keep going until we get answers.
Howard Coonans, they're the older brother of Eric Coonans, the victim. The family has hired local attorney Benjamin Taylor. Taylor says they're working hard and will not give up to see that those charges are filed against Hayes. Now, in the police report, it was noted that Coonans had issues with another employee at that flight center in the past. It was also noted that when police arrived, the suspect Hayes had a knife concealed in his boot. Reporting live, I'm Linda Williams, Fox 10 News.
Horrible, horrible story. Let's go on to Danielle Miller.
You're going to notice some new signs in and around downtown Phoenix, all geared toward bicyclists.
The goal is to keep bikers, bicyclists from rising up and getting hurt by traffic. Fox 10's Danielle Miller is live with more on the big change. Danielle.
Yeah, John, Kerry, bicyclists riding here in the downtown Phoenix area will soon be seeing a lot more of these signs right there. Take a look. Now, the purpose is to discourage cyclists from riding against traffic. Nearly 55 of these signs have already been put up. Crews with the City of Phoenix Street Transportation Department will be installing these signs throughout downtown along popular bicycling corridors. City officials say riders who travel the wrong way put themselves in danger and are less likely to be seen by drivers and those around them. City stats show that in 2013, there were 485 bike collisions with 417 injuries and 10 deaths. Those stats show that in the cases where direction of travel was known, most of the bicyclists were injured or killed when they were riding against traffic. Now, we spoke with one cyclist today who says that he rides downtown every single day, and he says adding this signage is a great idea.
I see people going, the wrong way down the one-way lanes. They're on the sidewalk, and the thing is, when you do that, you become less predictable.
And another stat to mention is between 2009 and 2013, nearly 33% of bicycle crashes involved wrong-way riders. Now, as you guys can see, this sign is posted on the back of another sign, so if a cyclist is riding this way, going the wrong way, it can be easily seen. Reporting live, Danielle Miller, Fox 10 News.
Well, the county attorney has gone to the dogs, but it's not what you think. They are therapy dogs brought in by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office.
Those dogs are meant to help traumatized crime victims and witnesses gain the courage to testify in court. It's a program you've probably never heard about, but it is growing. Steve Kraft has been looking into it. He joins us live now with the story. This is a great idea.
It's a great idea. You're absolutely right. The program is 5 years old. It started with one dog. A second dog joined last year and a third today, all of them working for the county attorney's office. Sometimes they're even in the courtroom. Ellie, Tori, and Sam, 3 dogs who have a way to calm people, even in the most stressful moments.
But over the course of the program, our canines have worked with over 400 child and adult crime victims. And in an effort to try to measure overall the impact, they've had over 6,000 service contacts.
3 employees of the county attorney's office serve as dog handlers.
Tori is just wonderful at providing comfort and support to victims. She can sense the stress as well, and a lot of times she'll actually sit on the victim's feet to provide comfort when she can feel that stress.
These dogs are so mellow, it is weird.
Tori, sit up.
It is part of their training.
Yeah. How did you do this? How did you train them?
Well, a lot of the testing comes from just the personality of the dogs. Right. One of the qualifiers for this program is you have to have a dog that's going to be very mellow and quiet and be able to sit for a long period of time.
Sam is a golden retriever Irish setter. Tori is an English Labrador retriever. And Ellie is a golden retriever. Tell me your viewpoint of the criminal justice system here in Maricopa County. Okay. Ellie? How about you? I don't want to leave you out. So what's it like comforting people in court? These courtroom veterans keep their opinions to themselves. Plenty of us could learn from them. Dogs are smarter, let's face it. When the dogs are in court to comfort a witness or a victim, they stay out of sight of the jury. The dogs live at home with their handlers who tell us that when they're not on the job, they like to play frisbee, do all those normal dog things, like to play and get into trouble. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
Well, we know what my favorite story of the day is. That was absolutely precious, and I'm a little jealous that I didn't get to cover it myself. I see a monsoon package in the mix. Let's hope it's not the one I played for you earlier, okay?
Well, if you're ready for some peace and quiet when it comes to the weather, then you're in luck. Today marks the official end of the monsoon season, and it has been a very active one. Wet, It's been loud, it's been pretty much everything you could ask for in a good monsoon. Monsoon 2015 will be the one season that several homeowners won't be soon forgetting. In fact, they're reminded of Mother Nature's show of force every day when they take a look at their homes. Fox 10's Nicole Garcia joins us now with the very expensive scars left behind this monsoon season.
Yeah, Carrie, Monsoon 2015 leaving a lot of damage in its wake. A lot of that damage still in the process of being repaired. We're in the Encanto neighborhood. Take a look at this house. This was hit during the storm several weeks ago. You see that blue tarp? This house had damage to its roof and its chimney. And take a look at this tree, that white thing in the tree, that is a piece of carport. That carport was attached to this house during the storm. It got shredded, blown into the air, and landed and wedged itself in the street, still there several weeks after the storm. So needless to say, a lot of homeowners are happy to put Monsoon 2015 behind them. Thunder, lightning, rain and wind. Monsoon 2015 packed some punches, and some houses were left bruised and battered.
It took our tree out, it took part of our roof off, it broke some stuff in the backyard. It was pretty amazing.
This is what his Encanto neighborhood looked like right after the storm rolled through 3 weeks ago. Several homes are still in the process of repair. Listen to how neighbors described what it was like as the damage was being done.
It was like that train, that whoo, whoo, whoo sound.
It was a freight train.
Felt like I was in a hurricane.
Looked like a scene from like a horror story or horror movie.
This 2,000-pound tree fell on top of this Central Phoenix home during a bad storm on September 1st. Its branches sliced through the roof like swords, forcing the elderly woman who lives there out of her home. And 30 days later, the roof is still being worked on. For many, Monsoon 2015 will go down as the year their roofs and trees were blown away.
The winds were just phenomenal. It was amazing.
So is this the worst monsoon season that you guys have seen so far as damage-wise?
Yeah, I think so, for sure, yeah.
And of course, this monsoon season also brought a lot of rain. The National Weather Service reporting that Sky Harbor Airport recorded 3.29 inches of rain during the season, and that is well above average. Reporting live, I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
Thanks so much, Nicole Garcia. And let's go straight into Dave Munsey's weather report. I know I saw some lower temperatures in the mix, and that makes me very happy.
Or exclusive AccuWeather forecast with Dave Muncy on Fox 10 News.
Well, this is an event. Well, I guess we'll just start with Dave. Because he is the main event.
Did you almost miss the weather on your 40th?
Can you imagine on the 40th anniversary you'd miss the weather? That would be great.
I was visiting, and you know how I love to visit.
I know, we were catching up, actually, reminiscing. So
we were.
Okay, now you have to do your job, Dave.
That's right. Do your job and we'll talk in a minute.
Work first, we'll play later. Okay. Hey, the city looking pretty good tonight with the temperatures up a little bit. Look at that, 105. That's just 1 degree off of the high today. A few clouds. Winds out of the southeast at 5. 40 degrees on the dew point, 11% on the humidity. As we get you a look around here, 102 at Goodyear right now, Scottsdale 101, 104 in Mesa, 100 at Cave Creek. I think you're going to like some of the numbers that we're going to have for the future here. You can see the system pushing over the north of us here. We see a few clouds filtering in, not too many, certainly no moisture. 106 degrees on the day today. There's your record at 107. 102 in Scottsdale, 104 in Glendale, 106 in Mesa, and as you can can see we're running above the norms on just about every one of our temperatures here. As we look around the state, in Flagstaff 78, 87 in Payson, 105 at Gila Bend, 90 at St. John's today. This is your normal line, and we are above it for a couple of days here. In fact, we ride above it through most of the period of the 10 days, but we do get it back down into the 90s once again off of those triple digits. This is your day. 106 on the high, 78 on the low, 105, make that 95, and 72 would be your normal high and low. Record high 107, record low at 49. Now across the country, got a few things going on. You can see what we were pointing out in the west here, that over the high pressure and then right into New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle. But also you can see Joaquin down here hanging around, and look at all of this moisture kind of streaming up in this way. Also moisture from the Gulf streaming up here. And what does that lead to? Of course, that's going to lead to flooding with 5.5 inches. In fact, just a little more than 5.5 inches in Portland, Maine today from a couple of different moisture sources. And this is one of them here. We talked about this Joaquin, now 920 miles south-southeast of Charleston and moving in that direction. Not really sure. All of the models are giving a different idea of where he's going to land. Carolinas are a possibility. Up closer to New York, another possibility. We, of course, will keep our eyes on Joaquin. It's a hurricane now at 105 degrees. 92 in Dallas, 78 in Wichita, 85 in Atlanta, 66 in Detroit today. Look at Chicago, 61 degrees, cooler air filtering in there. 78 in Bismarck, 85 in Billings with 64 up in Seattle. Take a look at your overnight lows for tomorrow. 47 in Flagstaff, 79 at Gila Bend, and 106 at Gila Bend for tomorrow. This is your forecast. Overnight clear, 80 degrees for tomorrow, 105 degrees. But look at those 90s start showing up after that 105, still some sunshine, then a little cloud cover, and it's all 90s, even though above the seasonal norm. We do remind you about the Walk for Hope. That is, of course, to cure breast cancer. It's going to be on Sunday, and those temperatures do come down a little bit on Sunday for that. Fox10phoenix.com. Go there, and you can sign up to be in the walk.
Yeah,
And another look at Dave Muncy for you, the man of the day. Where even though there's a producer named Stephanie here and it's her birthday, I don't see her, or I'd give her a shout out. Hi, Martini. We are going to go now to the UN Security Council summit. That this is from earlier today. Samia gave you a little bit of it, but I'm going to give you the rest of it. And we're going to head in that direction right now.
We call for a more stringent implementation of the requirements of Resolution 2199 regarding the drawing up of a sanctions list of physical and individuals who are trading with the Islamic State. There is a need to enhance the effectiveness of the expert group of the Anti-Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee in a systemic way, using the potential of the group, of the FATF and related regional structures. We propose also to make states accountable for their implementation of Resolution 2199 in a regular and systematic way. We believe that there is a need to include the Islamic State as a separate entity on the anti-terrorist sanctions list of the Security Council. Any delay in resolving this clearly pressing issue, of course, would be counterproductive from the point of view of the effectiveness of counter-terrorist efforts of the United Nations. Призываем более настойчиво и предметно противодействовать угрозам, исходящим от иностранных террористов, боевиков. Нужно срочно сформировать единую базу данных, содержащую сведения о них, разработать дополнительные механизмы обмена информацией об их перемещениях и упрощенные процедуры их передачи. Особое значение имеет превентивная работа, прежде всего борьба с подстрекательством терроризму в соответствии с резолюцией 1624, принятой 10 лет назад. За это время актуальность противодействия террористической идеологии многократно возросла. Многонациональная, многоконфессиональная Россия имеет поистине уникальный исторический опыт успешного сосуществования различных этносов и религиозных общин. Этим опытом мы готовы делиться, готовы учитывать и опыт наших партнеров. Увязки с задачами предупреждения терроризма, в том числе в рамках партнерства с институтами гражданского общества, рассматриваем вопросы противодействия насильственному экстремизму. Считаем принципиально extremism. We consider it to be principally important that the initiatives being brought forward in this field right now should be based on the sound basis of international law with respect to the sovereignty and equality of states, and to prevent any interference in the internal affairs. One cannot come up with slogans of fighting extremism in individual countries above the heads of their legitimate governments. Such attempts have already happened in the past, and they led to nothing good, as you all know. Fighting the terrorist danger must go hand in hand with stepping up efforts to settle various conflict situations in the region, whether it's in Syria, in Libya, or Yemen. However, first and foremost, this applies to the long-standing stalemate in the Palestinian-Israeli affairs, which are fueling in a powerful way extremist feelings on the Arab streets. The Quartet of International Mediators, together with Arab states and with the support of other UN members, must recognize their responsibility for renewing direct talks between Israel and Palestine on the basis of a two-state concept. Progress on this track would be a major contribution to ensuring regional stability and security of the people living in the region. Now, we look forward to frank, candid discussion during the course of today's meeting, as well as in upcoming meetings. It is important that in explaining our positions, we should listen to each other, hear each other, and seek paths towards mutual cooperation under the UN Charter in order to end the terrorist threats and ensure security in the Middle East and Northern Africa.
Thank
you so much for your attention. I now resume my functions as President of this Council, and I'm now going to give the floor to other members of the Council.
Я предоставляю слово его превосходительству господину Ван И, министру иностранных дел Китайской Народной
Minister of
Республики.
Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China.
Mr. President, China supports and highly appreciates Russia's initiative of convening this open ministerial meeting of the Security Council. Settling conflicts in the Middle East and eliminating the threat of terrorism are essential to world peace and are part of the responsibilities of the Security Council. The situation in the Middle East region is serious and disturbing. Differences among nations, religious sects, and ethnic groups aggravate one another. Wars and conflicts, humanitarian disasters, and terrorist threats are interwoven. The image of the drowned Syrian boy challenges human morality and questions the conscience of the international community. Today, we are gathered here in the Security Council chamber not to engage in empty talk, but to reflect on the root causes of the turmoils of the Middle East, make a just and objective projection of the regional situation, seek a feasible and effective solution, and strive to build a framework of peace that can be accepted by all parties. More importantly, we are here to seize opportunities and take actions to break the vicious cycle of incessant turbulence in the Middle East, honor the mandate entrusted to the Security Council by the UN Charter, and meet the expectations on us from the international community and especially from the people of the Middle East. Mr. President, China hopes that the international community and the people of the Middle East will jointly build a Middle East of peace, tolerance, and self-advancement. First and foremost, people need a Middle East of peace. Stability is a blessing, while turmoil brings peril. Peace is the most precious. The 70-year history of the United Nations has all along witnessed gunsmoke in the Middle East and the displacement of innocent civilians. The history of the Middle East told us time and again that violence will not lead to ultimate solutions of problems, and hatred will only extinguish hopes. Only by respecting one another can people live together peacefully. Only by adhering to dialogue can problems be resolved, and only by promoting friendship can a better future be created. This is what the international community hopes to see and what China's diplomacy aims to achieve. People need a Middle East of tolerance. The Middle East region, once a cradle of human civilization, boasts a glorious history with major contributions to human progress.
Its flourishing civilization and cultural confidence has made this region an important platform for exchanges and the integration of Eastern and Western civilizations. In the 21st century, coexistence of civilizations requires the spirit of harmony without uniformity more than before, and progress of society calls for inclusiveness and broad-mindedness. Different religions should tolerate and learn from each other, and various ethnicities should live in harmony. People need a Middle East of self-advancement. The Middle East is the home of all the peoples in the region. Therefore, its future and destiny should be determined by countries in the region through consultation. Countries outside the region may provide help, but should avoid interfering in the internal affairs of other countries, or even less so, imposing a specific model on them. Regional order should be shaped by countries in the region on the basis of the UN Charter and in light of the circumstances on the ground and the needs of the people there. Mr. President, the Syrian crisis has been lingering on for almost 5 years. The international community should not stand by and do nothing, nor should it intervene arbitrarily. We need to first step up humanitarian assistance. In particular, the growing tension around the migrant crisis needs to be addressed to avoid more tragedies. We welcome greater efforts by EU member states to this end. Syria's neighboring countries, which have received more than 4 million Syrian refugees over the past few years, face even greater and more immediate pressure. It is both unfair and unreasonable to forget their efforts and ignore their difficulties. Political settlement is the only way out of the Syrian crisis. To achieve this, parties need to find a middle way that draws on workable practices of other countries and regions, suits Syria's national conditions, and accommodates the interests of all parties. The resurgence of violent terrorist forces and the spread of the migrant crisis have further driven home to all parties the necessity and urgency of seeking a political settlement to the Syrian issue. China calls on all parties to seize the opportunity arising from a growing desire for political settlement, give positive consideration to the convening of the Geneva III Conference on Syria, and push for the restart of an inclusive political transition process that does not set preconditions or predetermined results and involves all parties to the conflict. Let the Syrian people decide for themselves the future of their country with the help of the international community and the support of the UN Security Council. To achieve this goal, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Special Envoy de Mistura are making active mediation efforts. China hopes all parties will unite behind the UN endeavor in this regard and create conditions, build consensus, and foster an enabling environment for it to succeed. China is deeply concerned about the recent conflict between Israel and Palestine in the Al-Aqsa Mosque area. Violence never brings real security. It will only entrench hatred. China firmly supports the early restoration of the Palestinian people's lawful rights and the realization of peaceful coexistence between the two states of Palestine and Israel. The international community should work together to facilitate the restart of talks between Palestine and Israel on a broad-based platform with the direct participation of all parties concerned. Only talks can bring hopes for peace and a better future. Mr. President, terrorism is a common scourge of mankind. The evolving situation in the Middle East has repeatedly shown that terrorist activities are all the same in nature, and to fight them, we must not adopt double standards. Combating violent terrorism in all its manifestations should be the shared responsibility and priority for countries in the region and the international community. China calls for broad-based and comprehensive international counterterrorism cooperation under the UN framework. International counterterrorism cooperation should include the following priorities: combating cyberterrorism, preventing violent extremist ideologies, blocking the flow of terrorists and terrorist funding, strengthening intelligence exchanges, and giving full play to the role of the Security Council. China believes
in a comprehensive response to terrorism that addresses both the symptoms and the root causes. Regional instability and development gaps breed terrorism, while ethnic disunity and religious conflicts allow radical ideologies to resurface. To fundamentally resolve issues that breed and feed terrorism, we must properly address regional disputes, restore regional stability, enhance the governance capabilities of various countries, speed up economic development, and improve people's lives in tangible ways. Mr. President, China hopes that this Security Council meeting will be a new starting point for renewed efforts of the international community and open new prospects for peace and security in the Middle East. Thank you, Mr. President.
Я благодарю его превосходительство министра Ван И за его заявление и предоставляю слово его превосходительству господину Насру Джоди, заместителю премьер-министра и министра иностранных дел Иорданского хашемитского королевства.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شكرا سيد الرئيس، واسمحوا لي بداية أن أتقدم لمعاليكم بالشكر على مبادرتكم بعقد هذا الاجتماع الهام حول تسوية النزاعات في الشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا والتصدي لخطر الإرهاب في المنطقة في سياق تحليل شامل لطبيعة هذه النزاعات. السيد الرئيس، إننا في المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية وبحكم موقعنا الجغرافي من أكثر هذه النزاعات تفاعلا وقربنا منها وتأثرنا المباشر والفوري بتداعيات هذه النزاعات السياسية والاقتصادية والأمنية والإنسانية، فإن رؤيتنا لمسببات وعوامل عدم الاستقرار في المنطقة تأتي من منظور واقعي، ومصالحنا المباشرة والحيوية في ضرورة حل النزاعات واستعادة الاستقرار والأمن في الإقليم. إن بذور النزاعات في المنطقة والتي تفاعلت وتفاقمت في إطار ما عرف وسمي بالربيع العربي كان نتيجة الحرمان في عديد من دول المنطقة، سواء الحرمان السياسي أو الاقتصادي أو الاجتماعي، والتي بدأت في مراحل مختلفة إبان العقود الماضية وتراكمت واستفحلت لمرحلة الانفجار كالتي نشهدها اليوم في بعض دول المنطقة. فالقاسم المشترك في كل دول المنطقة التي تشهد نزاعات اليوم هو تراكمات هذا الحرمان مرة أخرى، إن كانت سياسيا أو اقتصاديا أو اجتماعيا، وغياب الأفق السياسي لتصحيح المسار في هذه الدول والابتعاد عن سياسات الإقصاء والتهميش، والتي بدورها مهدت لأرضية تقوم على مقاربات طائفية أو مذهبية أو قبلية على حساب دور الدولة الجامع والوحدة الوطنية بين مكونات النسيج الوطني لهذه الدول، والتي وفرت البيئة الخصبة للتنظيمات الإرهابية لاستغلالها وتعزيز تواجدها. إن ما يحدث اليوم في القدس المحتلة وخاصة في المسجد الأقصى المبارك الحرم الشريف واستمرار الانتهاكات الإسرائيلية هو الذي يهدد باندلاع حرب دينية كونية، ونحن نطالب إسرائيل بوقف هذه الانتهاكات فورا واحترام قدسية الأماكن المقدسة، وذلك من منطلق وصاية جلالة الملك عبد الله الثاني بن حسين المعظم على المقدسات المسيحية والإسلامية في القدس الشريف، وتفاديا لتفاقم هذه الأزمة وهذه النزاعات في مختلف أنحاء العالم. ومما لا شك فيه أن البذرة الأولى للحرمان في المنطقة كانت في حرمان الشعب الفلسطيني من حقه في تحقيق طموحه الوطني والتاريخي بإقامة دولته المستقلة على ترابه الوطني وعلى مدار 7 سبعة عقود، والتي شكلت البداية لعدم الاستقرار في المنطقة وتولد الاحتقان لدى كل الشعوب في المنطقة، والذي ترجم إلى أشكال متعددة من التطرف في المنطقة وخارج حدود المنطقة على مدار السنوات والعقود حتى يومنا هذا. ولذلك فإن الحل الوحيد هو حل الدولتين، قيام الدولة الفلسطينية المستقلة على خطوط الرابع من حزيران عام 67 وعلى التراب الوطني الفلسطيني وعاصمتها القدس الشرقية، والأمن والسلام لكل دول وشعوب المنطقة. وهذا يشكل مصلحة أردنية عليا، كون الأردن معني بشكل مباشر في كافة قضايا الحل النهائي المطروحة للتفاوض الجاد. إن أساس استعادة الأمن والاستقرار في المنطقة وحل النزاعات بشكل جذري ومستدام يستدعي البدء بعمليات سياسية جامعة تعالج المسببات الجذرية للنزاعات في المنطقة. إن غياب الحل السياسي للأزمة السورية التي أوشكنا أن ندخل عامها السادس يفضي إلى الانتقال السياسي ويلبي التطلعات المشروعة للشعب السوري في الحرية، ويعيد الأمن والأمان للبلاد ويضمن وحدتها. غياب كل هذا يعزز عدم الاستقرار في المنطقة وفي العالم ويفاقم هذه الأزمة ويخدم التطرف والإرهاب. وكما كان غياب عملية سياسية جامعة في العراق وتراكمات سياسات الإقصاء والتهميش المذهبي قد وفر فرصة لتنظيم داعش الإرهابي لبسط سيطرته على أراضٍ شاسعة في البلاد، فإن دحر هذا التنظيم الإرهابي لا يكتمل بدون تحقيق المصالحة السياسية الجارية حاليا وتعزيز الوحدة الوطنية بين كافة مكونات الشعب العراقي. وفي ليبيا وبالرغم من الجهود الأممية الرامية لتحقيق حل سياسي بين الأطراف الليبية، فإن الانتقال نحو الدولة الحديثة والذي يتطلب دعما دوليا للشرعية كله مهدد بتوسع الإرهاب والتطرف وتحديدا تنظيم داعش الإرهابي وغيره. أما بالنسبة لليمن فلا بد من التأكيد على أنه لا بديل عن الحل السياسي للأزمة اليمنية وعودة كافة الأطراف إلى الطريق السياسي الذي ارتضاه اليمنيين والمتمثل بالمبادرة الخليجية ومخرجات مؤتمر الحوار الوطني وتنفيذ قرارات مجلس الأمن ذات الصلة، فضلا عن أهمية الالتفاف حول الشرعية الدستورية التي يجسدها الرئيس عبد ربه منصور هذا. ولولا الانقلاب على الشرعية الدولية ورفض الحل السياسي من قبل البعض فما كان اللجوء إلى العمل العسكري الذي يهدف إلى دعم الشرعية وعودة هذه الشرعية والعودة للمسار السياسي. السيد الرئيس لقد أخذت النزاعات في العديد من دول المنطقة مناح مذهبية وتنذر بمواجهة سنية شيعية تهدد السلم الأهلي والنسيج المجتمعي للبلاد وتهدد أمن المنطقة ككل، حيث أن مذهبة النزاعات في المنطقة قد ساهم بتفاقمها من جانب وعزز من دور وطروحات التنظيمات الإرهابية التي تسعى لمواجهة من هذا النوع. إن الأردن قد أكد مرارا على رفضه المطلق لطروحات الصراع المذهبي إن كان سنيا شيعيا أو بين المكونات الأخرى أو حربا دينية أو الصراعات الدينية في هذا الإطار، وإن تفادي الانجرار لمواجهة من هذا النوع يستدعي العودة إلى المسارات السياسية والتعامل معها من منظور سياسي صرف سواء على المستوى الإقليمي أو بين فئات المجتمع المتنوعة. إن الأبعاد الإنسانية لهذه النزاعات المفتوحة آخذة في التفاقم، فها نحن نرى اليوم تدفق اللاجئين السوريين إلى دول الجوار وقد أخذ يفيض خارج المنطقة، وأن التداعيات الإنسانية لغياب الحلول السياسية للأزمات في المنطقة غير قابل للاحتواء في منطقة أو إقليم، فلا يوجد حل سياسي لا يوجد حل إنساني للأزمة السورية. الحل السياسي هو المطلوب لإنهاء هذه المعاناة الإنسانية. الأردن بلدي يستضيف اليوم بحدود 1,400,000 مواطن سوري، بالإضافة إلى أعداد كبيرة من اللاجئين من دول أخرى، على الرغم من محدودية قدراته. وقد استنفذ بلدي قدرته على استيعاب السوريين في ظل غياب الدعم الدولي المطلوب والضروري والمشاركة في تحمل الأعباء. ونحن نشاهد اليوم الصور المؤلمة لهذا الشعب العربي العريق، وهو نازح داخل بلاده أو مشرد خارجها، وعلى المجتمع الدولي برمته أن يتحمل هذه المسؤولية. فلا تستطيع الدول فرادى أن تتحمل هذه المسؤولية لوحدها نيابة عن المجتمع الدولي. السيد الرئيس، من المهم التأكيد على ضرورة الامتثال والتطبيق الكامل لقرارات مجلس الأمن ذات الصلة بمكافحة الإرهاب. ونقول نحن أننا في الأردن في طليعة الجهود الدولية الرامية إلى مكافحة الإرهاب، سواء على المستوى العسكري أو الأمني أو الأيديولوجي. وقد أكد جلالة الملك عبد الله الثاني أن هذه الحرب هي حرب وحرب داخل الإسلام ضد خوارج العصر الذين يشوهون صورة ديننا الإسلامي الحنيف ورسالته السمحة النبيلة التي تستند بشكل أساسي إلى قبول الآخر وإلى الانفتاح وإلى الحوار وإلى السلم والسلام. وقد أكد جلالة الملك في خطابه للجمعية العامة قبل أمس بأننا يجب أن نكون جميعا على يقين بأن الجبهة الأكثر أهمية في هذه الحرب تدور رحاها في ميادين الفكر ومبتغاها كسب العقول والقلوب، وعلينا جميعا أن نوحد الصفوف كمجتمع إنساني في هذه الحرب. نعود ونقول مرة أخرى بأنه من المهم التأكيد على ضرورة الامتثال والتطبيق الكامل لقرارات مجلس الأمن ذات الصلة بمكافحة الإرهاب، والتي من أهمها القرار 2170 حول الخطر الناجم عن تنظيمي داعش والنصرة، والقرار 2199 الذي يكافح تمويل الإرهاب، والقرار 2178 الذي يجابه ظاهرة المقاتلين الإرهابيين الأجانب المنضمين للتنظيمات الإرهابية في مناطق النزاع من أكثر من 100 دولة. فهذه الظاهرة التي تلقي بعواقبها الوخيمة على دول المنشأ ودول العبور ودول الوصول، إضافة إلى الخطر الذي تفرزه تلك التنظيمات على دول جوار النزاعات وطموحها المتصل في تنفيذ هجمات إرهابية في دول الجوار، الأمر الذي يترتب عليه أعباء أمنية جمة على تلك الدول وتهديدها للأمن والسلم الدولي. إن نجاعة الجهود في محاربة الإرهاب وآفة التطرف تستدعي مقاربة سياسية شاملة تبتعد عن التجاذبات المذهبية وتعالج المسببات الجذرية للأزمات والمتمثلة في الحرمان أو الإقصاء أو التهميش، والتي كانت الداء الرئيس في إضعاف الدولة ودورها وطابعها الوطني وخلق الفراغ الذي استغلته التنظيمات الإرهابية والفكر المتطرف، وأن إحياء المسارات السياسية لمعالجة النزاعات في المنطقة من شأنه توفير الأرضية الصلبة التي ترفض الجهد العسكري والأمني في مجابهة الإرهاب والتطرف سواء في المنطقة أو خارجها، وتحديدا فيما يتعلق بالتمويل والمقاتلين الإرهابيين الأجانب من خلال نزع غطاء الشرعية عن مبرراتهم ودوافعهم. إننا مطالبون في مجلس الأمن، وهو المكلف بالحفاظ على الأمن والسلم الدوليين، بأن نرقى إلى مستوى طموحات وتوقعات الشعوب في كل أنحاء العالم. فنحن مطالبون بالنهوض بمسؤولياتنا في هذا الإطار. أشكركم على حسن استماعكم سيد الرئيس.
Я благодарю Его
I'd like to
Превосходительство
thank His Excellency,
Джоду за его заявление и предоставляю
Deputy Prime
слово Его
Minister Judah, for his statement, and
Превосходительству
I would like to give the
господину
floor to His
Лорану
Excellency
Фабиусу, министру
Laurent
иностранных
Fabius,
дел и
Minister of Foreign
международного
Affairs
развития
and
Французской
International
Республики.
Development of the French Republic.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President,
Monsieur le Secrétaire général des
Secretary
Nations
General
Unies,
of the United Nations,
chers collègues, mesdames et
colleagues,
messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen,
je vais centrer mon propos
I will
sur
concentrate my
la
words
lutte contre le
on
terrorisme
combating
en Irak
terrorism
et en
in
Syrie.
Iraq and Syria.
Face au drame
Now, in the
syrien,
face of the Syrian tragedy,
face à la
in
barbarie
face
sans
of the
limite
limitless
de Daesh,
barbarism of Daesh,
le Conseil de
the
sécurité
Security Council
a été malheureusement
has, unfortunately,
le plus souvent
on most occasions,
le Conseil de
been
l'impuissance.
the Council of Impotence.
La demande que nous adressent maintenant les victimes de ce
Urgent
drame
demand coming
et
to us
l'opinion
from the
publique
victims of this
internationale
tragedy and international
tient
public
en
opinion
deux mots.
can be summarized in
Agissez
two
vite.
words. Act
Et c'est aussi la
fast.
position de la
And
France,
this is also France's
et
position.
j'ajouterai,
And I would add the
si
following.
possible,
If
dans l'unité.
possible, in a unified
La
way,
France est une puissance
France
indépendante.
is an independent power.
Partout dans le monde,
And throughout the
nous
world,
recherchons
we seek
la paix et la
peace
sécurité.
and security.
Et en Irak et en Syrie,
In Iraq
c'est
and in
cette
Syria,
exigence
it is this demand, this
qui a
requirement,
déterminé
which
et
has
qui
determined
déterminera
and
nos
will
choix.
continue to determine
En
our
Irak,
choices. In
En
Iraq,
août 2014,
in
lorsque
August
Daesh s'est emparé de
2014, when
Mossoul,
ISIL took
une coalition internationale
Mosul,
s'est
an
formée.
international coalition was established.
La France,
and
dès le
France,
premier jour, s'est
from the very
engagée
first
dans ce
day,
cadre.
was part of that
Notre
framework.
action militaire, relayée au
Our
sol par
military
les
action
forces de
backed up on the
sécurité
ground by
irakiennes
Iraqi
et
and
par les
security
Peshmerga,
forces and by the
s'est
Peshmerga,
accompagnée d'une démarche
was supported
politique
by
de
political
réconciliation nationale.
steps for national
Un an
reconciliation.
après le
And
début de
one
nos
year
efforts,
after the start of
Daesh
those efforts,
a
Daesh
seulement commencé
has only just
de reculer.
now begun to lose
Il
ground.
demeure une forte
It
menace
continues to be a major
et
threat.
nous savons tous
And we all
ici
know here
que vaincre le terrorisme
that
sera une action de long terme.
fighting and winning over terrorism will be a
En
long-term
Syrie,
task.
la situation
In
est
Syria,
encore
the
plus
situation
complexe.
is even more complex.
Le groupe terroriste Daesh
The terrorist
a en
group
effet
ISIL
prospéré
has in fact prospered
avec, en
with,
réalité,
in fact,
la complicité
the complicity
du régime de M.
of
Bachar el-Assad.
Mr. Bashar el-Assad's
Son emprise sur le
regime.
territoire syrien s'est
His
étendue
grip
au cours de ces
its
derniers mois
its grip, rather, on Syrian
avec la ville
territory
de
has
Raqqa
spread over
comme
recent
centre.
months with
Le flux
Raqqa
des
as its
combattants
center,
étrangers
and the
a
flood of
augmenté
foreign fighters has
et
increased.
avec lui le risque terroriste
And
bien au-delà
has
de la
meant
région
that the
du Levant.
terrorist threat now spreads
La
far beyond the
politique
Middle
de
East.
terre brûlée
The scorched
menée
earth
par le
policy
régime
undertaken
lui a
by the
aliéné une
regime
grande
has
partie de la
alienated
population.
from it a majority of the
Une
population.
réponse militaire
A
de la
military
coalition
response
s'est
by the
organisée.
coalition has been organized.
Nous pensons qu'elle doit
We
être
believe it
renforcée,
should be strengthened,
mais elle ne peut constituer à elle
but
seule
on
une
its
réponse
own, it
suffisante,
cannot be
car la
an
solution,
adequate
je pense
response
que nous
because the
sommes au moins
solution,
d'accord
and I
tous
believe we
là-dessus,
at least agree on
doit
this
être une
point,
solution
the solution
politique.
must be a political one.
Aujourd'hui, certains nous
Today,
proposent d'unir
some
nos
parties are
forces
suggesting
pour
that we
former en
unite our
Syrie
forces to create in
une grande
Syria
coalition contre
a
Daesh.
major
La
anti-ISIL
Russie
coalition.
vient de
Russia has
présenter les
just
principes
submitted to
d'une
us the
résolution au
outlines of
Conseil
a
de
resolution
sécurité.
in the
Quelle
Security
est la position
Council.
de la France?
So what is France's
Elle
position on
tient en
this?
quelques
It's
principes
based on
que je veux
two
énoncer.
straightforward principles which are now
D'abord,
list.
il
First
faut
of all,
frapper
we
Daesh
must
partout
hit
où on
ISIL
peut le faire.
wherever we can. We are concerned, we will do so.
En Irak depuis
In
plus d'un
Iraq,
an,
we've been doing
dans
so
le
for
cadre de
more
la
than a year in
coalition
the
et à la
context
demande
of
du
the
gouvernement
coalition and on the
irakien.
request of the Iraqi government.
En Syrie, les
In
forces de aérienne de la coalition sont
coalition
engagées
air
depuis
assets
plusieurs
have
mois
been engaged
et
for a
dimanche
number of
dernier,
months,
sur
and
décision
last
du président de la
Sunday,
République,
following
des
decision of the
avions
President of the
français sont
Republic,
intervenus contre
France
un camp
aircraft
d'entraînement où se
attacked a
préparaient des
training
attentats.
camp where attacks
notamment
against
contre notre
our
pays.
own country and others
Je
were
le
being
dis à
plotted.
tous les partenaires
So
qui
I say
voudraient
to all
rejoindre notre
parties
action,
and
ils
partners
sont
who
les
wish to
bienvenus
join our action, they are
à
welcome,
trois conditions.
but on three conditions.
La première, c'est qu'il n'y ait
The
aucune
first
ambiguïté
is that there be
sur
absolute
qui nous
clarity as
combattons.
to whom we are fighting.
Ceux que nous devons
Those who we
combattre et
must
battre,
fight
ce sont les
and
terroristes de
defeat
Daesh
are the
et des
ISIL
autres groupes
terrorists and
radicaux
other radical
qui veulent
groups
imposer
who
leurs
wish
lois
to
barbares.
impose their barbarous laws.
Mais ce ne sont évidemment
they
pas
are clearly
les populations
not
civiles
the civilian
et les
population
forces de l'opposition
and the
modérée
moderate opposition
qui depuis
forces
des années
who for
défendent
years have
courageusement
been
leur vision
bravely
qui est aussi
defending
la
their
nôtre
vision, which is one
d'une
that we
Syrie
share, and that
unie,
is of a
démocratique
unified,
et
democratic
respectueuse de
Syria,
toutes les
which
communautés
respects all communities
face à cette autre
in the
forme
face of this
de
other
terreur
form of
que
terror,
constitue la répression
which
sanglante
is
du
the
régime.
bloody repression
C'est la
of
première
the
condition.
regime. This is the first
Daesh
condition.
et non pas la population civile
Daesh
ou
and
l'opposition
not
modérée.
the civilian population
La
or the
deuxième
moderate opposition.
c'est
The
qu'il
second
soit mis
condition
fin dans le même
is that
temps
an end at
aux
the same
autres formes
time
de
be put to
violence
the other
contre les
forms of
populations
violence
civiles
against civilian
qui en
population,
réalité
which in
alimentent
fact
l'extrémisme
just
et le
fuel
flot dramatique des
extremism
réfugiés.
and the tragic
On dit
flood
que
of refugees. It is
80%
said that
des
80% of the
250 000 morts du drame syrien,
250,000 dead in the
que
Syrian
80%
tragedy,
des millions de réfugiés poussés
80%
sur
of
les
the
routes depuis
millions
3
of
ans
refugees forced to flee
l'ont
over 3
été du
years
fait des
have
bombardements
been so because of the
indiscriminés du régime.
indiscriminate bombing
Il
by the
faut y
regime.
mettre fin.
This
Le
must
Conseil
stop.
de
The
sécurité
Security
doit donc
Council
une fois pour
must,
toutes
once and for
interdire
all,
l'usage en
ban the
Syrie
use in Syria
des bombardements au
of
baril
barrel
d'explosifs et à la
bombs
chlorine.
and chlorine bombs.
La troisième condition,
The third
c'est
condition
qu'il soit
is that
reconnu
we
que le problème
recognize
doit être
that the
traité à la
problem
racine.
needs to be treated
La lutte
at
contre
the
Daesh
root.
passe par une transition
Combating ISIL
politique
requires a
qui
political
puisse
transition
redonner espoir
which can
à la
give
population
hope
syrienne.
once again to the
Le
Syrian
destin
people.
de
The
ce
fate of
peuple
that
ne peut
people
pas se
cannot be
limiter
limited
à une alternative
to
de l'horreur,
choosing between two types
ou
of horror,
bien un régime
either a
criminel,
criminal
ou bien
regime
le terrorisme
or
barbare.
barbarous
Ce que nous
terrorism.
devons
What
rechercher
we should
figure
seek
noir
is
sur
written
blanc
black
dans
on
le
white
communiqué de
in the
Genève
Geneva
de juin
communiqué of June
2012. Un gouvernement doté
2012.
des pleins pouvoirs
a
exécutifs,
government with full executive
rassemblant à la
powers,
fois
bringing
des éléments du
together
régime,
both
oui,
regime
des
elements,
éléments du
yes,
régime,
regime
et
elements,
des éléments de
and
l'opposition
opposition
qui
elements
refusent le
who
terrorisme.
are rejecting terrorism.
Le moment est venu
The
de
time
mettre
has
en œuvre cette
come
transition
to
de sortie
implement this exit
qui
transition,
garantira au peuple
which would
syrien
allow
que
the
son
Syrian
bourreau ne
people
sera pas son
that their
avenir.
hangman should
Cette
not be part of
transition,
their future. And this
nous en
transition,
connaissons l'essentiel
we
des
know the
objectifs, des
main
paramètres et des
objectives of
acteurs.
the
Nous devons
transition, its
maintenant mettre en œuvre le
parameters and
processus.
stakeholders, and we
Il
must
passe,
now
selon
launch
nous,
that process.
par
It
une
requires, as
négociation
we see,
large,
a broad
sous l'égide
negotiation
de
under the
l'envoyé
aegis of
spécial des
the
Nations Unies
Special
pour la
Envoy
Syrie,
of the United Nations for
sous le
Syria,
contrôle d'un
under the
groupe de
control
contact
of a contact
dont, à
group
notre avis, le noyau
whose core,
pourrait
we
être le
believe,
P5,
could be
élargi
the P5
aux partenaires
enlarged to
régionaux
include
clés.
key regional
J'ajoute
partners.
que
I
pour
would
rendre
also
crédibles
add
ces engagements,
that to
nous
make
devrons
these
examiner les
commitments
mécanismes
credible, we must
qui
consider
pourront
the
protéger
mechanisms
effectivement,
which
au-delà
could
des mots,
effectively
les populations
protect,
civiles.
not just in words,
En Syrie,
the
il
civilian
y a des
population.
zones
In
entières
Syria,
qui
there are
sont
entire
aujourd'hui sous le
areas
feu
which
des
are now
bombardements
the targets
indiscriminés
of indiscriminate
sans
bombing.
que la lutte contre le
And this
terrorisme
is not
ne le
justified
justifie.
by combating
Des milliers de
terrorism.
Syriens doivent
Thousands
fuir
of
ces villes et
Syrians
ces
have to
villages.
flee their
Cela
villages
doit cesser.
and
Plusieurs
towns.
de nos
This must
partenaires
stop. Many of our
ont avancé
partners
des
have put
propositions
forward
concrètes
specific
pour créer, alors,
proposals to create,
les appellations sont
now
différentes,
they
des
call
zones de
them different
sécurité, des
names,
zones interdites
security
au survol,
zones,
dans
no-fly
lesquelles la
zones,
sécurité des
in which the
populations civiles
security of the
serait
civilian
assurée.
population would be
Nous devons
guaranteed.
étudier
We must
attentivement et
closely
rapidement
and
ces
quickly
propositions
study these proposals
dans le but, si c'est
in order,
possible, de les
if
mettre en
possible,
œuvre
to implement them
partout où elles
wherever
seraient utiles à la
that
paix.
would
Monsieur le
serve
Président,
peace. Mr. President,
chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs,
colleagues, ladies and gentlemen,
face à Daesh,
in the face
il
of
n'y a pas
ISIL,
de
there is
formule
no
miracle
magic
qui
bullet
nous dispenserait du long effort
would,
nécessaire pour combattre le terrorisme.
spare us any long
Mais il y a,
combat
et il faut les
against
éviter,
terrorism.
de fausses
But there are,
solutions
and we
qui
must
ne feraient
avoid
que
these
prolonger le drame.
false solutions which can
Une
only
coalition
extend the
dont les
tragedy.
bases
A
mêmes
coalition whose very
interdirait
underpinnings
en
prohibit,
réalité
in
tout
actual
rassemblement
fact,
des Syriens
any
contre
bringing
les
together of
terroristes,
Syrians against
alimenterait
terrorists
la
would
propagande
just
de Daesh
fuel the
et
propaganda of
finirait par
Daesh
renforcer
and
son
would, in the
pouvoir
end of the
d'attraction.
day, make it more
Ce serait une
attractive.
faute morale et
It would be
politique
a political and
que le
moral
peuple syrien,
error for the
l'ensemble
Syrian
du
people and the
Moyen-Orient,
entire
l'Europe et le
Middle
monde
East, Europe and
paieraient
the rest
pendant
of
des
the world
décennies.
should pay would pay for
La
this for
France donc
decades
est
in the
prête à
future.
agir
France is ready
avec
to
ses
act
partenaires
with its
traditionnels
traditional partners
et avec la
and
Russie
with Russia
et avec d'autres
and with others
sur la base des trois
on the
principes
basis
que
of
je
the three
viens
principles
d'énoncer
that I have just
dès lors que
listed,
les actions
provided that the
respecteront
actions
trois
would
conditions.
respect these three
Un
conditions.
engagement militaire
A
effectif
military
contre Daesh
commitment
et
against
contre
Daesh
les
which
autres
is
groupes
effective
terroristes
and against
et non
other
pas
terrorist groups
contre les
and
résistants
not
syriens
against
ou la
Syrian
population
resistance
civile.
fighters or against the civilian
L'arrêt des
population.
bombardements
An
aux barils
end to barrel
d'explosifs et
bombings
à la
and
chlorine
the use of
contre
chlorine
cette
against
population
the
civile.
civilian population.
Enfin,
And
une
finally,
négociation large
a
vers une
broad-based
transition
negotiation
politique
towards a political
qui ne
transition
conduise pas à
which
maintenir au
does not
pouvoir
lead to
le bourreau de la
maintaining in
Syrie, mais
power
qui permette
Syria's
enfin afin
man, but which
de
would
rassembler
finally
réellement
allow
le
us to
peuple
bring
syrien.
the Syrian people
Ce
together
sont
at
les
last.
trois
These
conditions
are the three
de l'efficacité
preconditions for the
indispensable en Syrie.
effectiveness
Je vous
of
remercie.
our actions in Syria. Thank you very much.
Я благодарю его
I'd like to
превосходительство
thank His
министра
Excellency,
Фабиуса
Minister Fabius,
и предоставляю
and would
слово
like to give the floor now
его превосходительству
to His Excellency,
господину Мусе Факиму Хамату,
Mr.
министру
Moussé
иностранных
Fatima
дел
Hamad,
и
Minister
африканской
for Foreign
интеграции
Affairs and African
Республики Чад.
Integration of the Republic of Chad.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr.
je
President,
remercie la Fédération de
I would like to
Russie
convey my gratitude
d'avoir
to the Russian
organisé cette
Federation for having
importante
organized this
séance
very important
sur
meeting
le règlement des conflits et la lutte
on
contre la menace
settling
terroriste
of
au
conflicts
Moyen-Orient et en
and
Afrique du
tackling the
Nord.
terrorist threat in the
Je
Middle
remercie
East
également
and Northern
le
Africa.
secrétaire général Ban
I'd
Ki-moon
also like to convey my
de
gratitude
son
to the Secretary
intervention.
General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, for his statement.
Monsieur le Président, le
President,
70e anniversaire
the
de
70th
l'ONU est
anniversary
une
of
occasion
the
de
United
réfléchir
Nations affords
ensemble,
us an opportunity to
non
together
seulement sur la persistance des conflits armés,
ponder not only the
mais aussi
persistence of
sur
armed
un nouveau
conflicts,
type de menace,
but also
le
to reflect
terrorisme qui se
on a new
propage
type of
à une
threat, that
vitesse
of terrorism, terrorism
vertigineuse,
which is spreading
mettant en
at a
péril la
mind-boggling
paix et la
pace
sécurité
and
dans
which
le
is
monde.
threatening peace and security throughout the world.
Aussi, la présente séance vient-elle
This
à
current
point
session
nommé.
comes at just the right time.
J'espère qu'elle nous permettra de procéder
I
à une
cherish the hope that
analyse
it will enable
globale
us to
et
carry out a
approfondie de tous ces
comprehensive,
fléaux au
in-depth analysis of
Moyen-Orient
all of these
et en Afrique
scourges
du Nord
afflicting the Middle
et
East and
d'envisager
Northern
des
Africa,
actions collectives
and to come up with
fondées
collective
sur la Charte
actions,
des
ones
Nations
which are
Unies
based on
et
the
les droits
United Nations
internationaux.
Charter and international law.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President,
de prime abord, il y a lieu de
at the
s'interroger sur
outset,
le
there
cause
is a
profonde
need
de
to
ces
ask
phénomènes qu'est le
ourselves
terrorisme
about what the deep-rooted
et
causes
sur
of
ces
terrorism are,
manifestations
and
telles que
its
Daesh,
manifestations,
Al-Qaïda,
namely Daesh,
Jabhat al-Nusra,
Al-Qaïda, Jabhat
Ansar al-Sharia,
al-Nusra,
etc.,
Ansar
avant de
al-Sharia,
proposer
and so
des
forth.
pistes de solutions
And we need to do
éventuelles.
this before we
En
then
effet,
turn to coming up with
dans
solutions.
cette partie du monde, les crises
Indeed, in
économiques et
this part
sociales
of the
aiguës,
world,
l'absence de
extreme
réformes
socio-economic
politiques
crisis, the
répondant
lack
aux
of political
revendications
reform,
populaires à plus de liberté,
meeting
de
the
démocratie et de
concerns of the
changement
people, which
ont
are for
été la
greater
source
democracy and freedom,
d'importantes frustrations.
are the source
La
of very
corruption, les
significant
oppressions et les
frustration.
pratiques discriminatoires,
Corruption, oppression,
la
discriminatory
marginalisation
practices,
des minorités
the
ethniques et
marginalization of
religieuses
ethnic and
ont
religious
aggravé
minorities
davantage
have
la
all
situation.
further exacerbated the situation.
À cette situation explosive se sont
Now, this
ajoutées
explosive situation was
les ingérences
compounded
extérieures,
by external
le chaos qui
interference.
s'est installé dans certains
The chaos
pays, à l'exemple
which
de
has
la
taken
Syrie
hold
et de la
of certain
Libye,
countries such
en
as
est la
Syria
preuve.
and Libya is proof of
Si nous
this.
prenons le cas de la Libye, par
If we
exemple,
take the case of Libya, for
il
example,
convient de rappeler qu'aux
there
premières
is a
heures
need
de la
here to
crise,
recall that during the very first
l'Union
hours
africaine
of
était
the
à la
crisis,
recherche d'une
the African
solution
Union
négociée.
sought a negotiated
Un
solution.
processus de médiation était sur
A
le point de
mediation
réussir,
process
mais a
was
été malheureusement
on the
ignoré,
verge of
sinon
achieving
torpillé.
success. Unfortunately, it was
Aucune
ignored,
chance n'a été
in fact, even
accordée au
undermined.
règlement pacifique de la crise.
No chance was given to a peaceful
La
settlement
conséquence
of
est
the
la
crisis.
déstabilisation d'un pays,
The consequence is a
d'une région
destabilization of a
tout
country,
entière,
of a whole
devenu
region,
aujourd'hui
which
le
today
terrain de
has
prédilection
become
des groupes terroristes de
the
tout genre.
favorite playground of
Le chaos
terrorists
qui s'en est
of all
suivi
stripes.
continue
The
d'avoir
chaos
des
which
répercussions
followed
sur une
continues to
grande partie
have
du continent africain,
impacts
mais
on
aussi
most
sur
of the
l'Europe,
African
notamment avec
but
le
also
phénomène de la
Europe,
migration.
with the phenomenon
Ce
of
chaos
migration. This
menace l'ensemble des pays du Sahel,
all of the
notamment
countries
les
of the Sahel
pays
region,
limitrophes, dont mon pays, le
including
Tchad,
those neighboring
du
my
fait de la
country,
circulation
Chad,
illicite
as a
des
result
armes
of the illicit
et des
flow of
agissements des groupes
weapons
terroristes présents en
and
Libye.
the actions of terrorist groups
Il faut noter
active
parmi les
in
facteurs
Libya.
exacerbants
Amongst the
des conflits au
factors
Moyen-Orient et
which
en Afrique
further
du Nord,
exacerbate the conflict
le
in the Middle
transfert
East and
illégal
Northern
d'armes aux
Africa,
acteurs
we
non
have
étatiques
the illicit
et
transfer of
l'insuffisance
weapons to
des
non-state
mécanismes
actors
de prévention des conflits,
and the weakness
ainsi
of
que la
conflict
faiblesse de
prevention
coordination
mechanism, as
entre les
well as
Nations Unies
weaknesses
et
in
les
terms of
organisations
coordination
régionales.
between the United Nations and
À
regional
cela s'ajoute,
organizations.
il faut le
All
reconnaître,
of this is
la
compounded, and we
lenteur
have to be frank
de la
here,
réaction de la
by
communauté
the
internationale,
slow
et en
response
particulier
of the
celle de notre
international
Conseil.
community, and especially that of our Council.
Monsieur le Président, permettez-moi d'abord
President, allow me to
d'imaginer quelques pistes de solutions face à la menace terroriste
touch on a
et aux
few
crises
possible
qui en découlent.
avenues to find
Il Il y a d'abord la résolution du conflit israélo-palestinien. En effet, l'absence d'une solution à ce conflit qui dure depuis plusieurs décennies. Il a l'âge de notre organisation l'ONU, sans qu'il y ait une perspective de paix. Cela constitue une source majeure de problèmes dans cette région. Concernant la question palestinienne, Nous avons la ferme conviction qu'il n'y a pas d'alternative à la solution de deux États susceptible de mettre fin à l'occupation israélienne et de créer un État palestinien indépendant, souverain et viable, vivant en paix et en sécurité aux côtés d'Israël. À cet égard, le Conseil de sécurité doit situer les responsabilités et exercer les pressions nécessaires sur les parties pour faire de la solution de deux États une réalité. La communauté internationale ne doit pas s'accommoder de ce que vivent les Palestiniens au quotidien, notamment la poursuite des colonies de peuplement, l'expropriation des terres, la démolition illégale des domiciles, les déplacements forcés, les incursions et les profanations persistantes de la mosquée Al-Aqsa. Monsieur le Président, pour remédier à la situation en Syrie, nous pensons que seule une solution politique, à travers un dialogue direct entre les parties en conflit, traitant des causes sous-jacentes de la crise syrienne, pourra mettre fin à cette tragédie humaine et préserver l'unité et la cohésion de ces pays. Dans cette optique, nous estimons qu'il est temps que le Conseil de sécurité joue pleinement son rôle afin d'impulser une nouvelle dynamique dans la recherche d'une solution négociée à la crise permettant l'opérationnalisation du communiqué de Genève de 2012. L'afflux de réfugiés syriens en Europe, à travers les périples maritimes, très dangereux pour leur vie, illustre la gravité de la crise syrienne. Au-delà de l'émotion et de la compassion provoquée par des images choquantes, ce nouveau phénomène migratoire sans précédent, avec son cortège de désespoir et de souffrance, doit interpeller notre conscience et nous amener à faire une lecture réaliste de la situation qui prévaut dans ces pays pour en tirer les conséquences qui s'imposent, c'est-à-dire l'impérieuse nécessité de trouver une solution politique à ces conflits. Monsieur le Président, s'agissant de la Libye, le Tchad réitère l'urgence d'une solution politique à mesure de préserver l'unité et l'intégrité territoriale de ces pays, ainsi que la cohésion de son peuple, avec la mise en place d'un gouvernement d'union nationale susceptible de mettre fin aux hostilités. Un accord de réconciliation nationale reste à la fois nécessaire et urgent pour rétablir l'ordre et la sécurité afin d'éviter l'effondrement de ces pays. Nous continuons à penser qu'il ne peut y avoir de solution militaire au conflit libyen et que toutes les parties doivent faire preuve de responsabilité et cesser tout recours à la violence. Le Conseil de sécurité doit envoyer un message fort à ceux qui veulent torpiller le processus politique en promouvant la solution militaire, alors que les négociations sont en cours. Nous exhortons la communauté internationale à se concerter avec les pays de la région, les organisations régionales, notamment l'Union africaine et la Ligue des États arabes, afin de leur permettre de contribuer efficacement à ce processus de paix. Monsieur le Président, ce qui concerne la lutte contre les menaces résultant d'actes terroristes, il convient de rappeler que la liste établie à ce jour indique qu'il existe 20 entités associées à Al-Qaïda dans la région du Moyen-Orient et de l'Afrique du Nord, ce qui est très inquiétant. Or, malgré les multiples résolutions du Conseil de sécurité et les efforts collectifs de la lutte contre les groupes terroristes, il est regrettable de constater que le terrorisme ne cesse de croître, constituant une menace existentielle pour certains de nos États. En outre, les États doivent coopérer au plan sous-régional, régional et international, notamment en renforçant les échanges d'informations, des mécanismes d'arrestation et d'extradition des terroristes. Pour conclure, nous tenons à souligner que le Conseil de sécurité, qui a la responsabilité première en matière de maintien de la paix et de la sécurité internationale, doit jouer un rôle de premier plan dans la prévention et le règlement des conflits au Moyen-Orient, en Afrique du Nord et ailleurs. À cet égard, les organisations régionales, comme la Ligue arabe et l'Union africaine, doivent être pleinement impliquées dans la prévention et le règlement passif des conflits à travers l'établissement et le renforcement d'un partenariat stratégique entre les Nations unies et ces organisations. L'interdépendance croissante du monde et l'intervenance entre les différents niveaux de conflits locaux et régionaux nécessitent plus que jamais une action concertée et coordonnée. Je vous remercie.
Я благодарю его превосходительство министра Мохаммада за его заявление и предоставляю слово его превосходительству господину Хосе Мануэлю Гарсия Маргалью, министру иностранных дел и сотрудничества Королевства Испании.
Manuel Garcia Margallo, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of the Kingdom of Spain.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very
Quiero
much,
empezar
President. I'd like
subrayando la
to begin
oportunidad y
by
acierto en convocar
highlighting
esta
this
reunión
excellent
en un momento
opportunity in terms of convening
especialmente
this
complejo.
meeting at a very complex
Quiero,
moment
en
in
segundo lugar,
time.
subrayar
Secondly,
también
I'd
que
also like to
para combatir
highlight
el
that in
fenómeno
order to combat the
terrorista
terrorist
son
phenomenon,
imprescindibles
it is
liderazgo,
absolutely essential to have
perseverancia,
leadership,
determinación
perseverance,
y
determination,
unidad.
and
Sobre
unity.
todo, unidad.
And unity
Sin
in
unidad
particular.
nos
Without
vencerán.
unity, they will
España
win.
tiene una larga y dolorosa experiencia en
has a
materia de
long
lucha contra el terror,
experience in
contra el terror
combating
interno
terror,
y contra el terror
domestic terror,
externo.
and external terror.
Contra el terror
Against
interno,
domestic
el terror separatista,
terrorism,
quizá no
the
sea
separatist
ocioso recordar
terrorism,
que hace
it's painful to
55 años
recall
este
that
año
55
murió la
years
primera
ago
víctima
this year,
mortal,
the first
una niña de 22 meses como consecuencia
death
de la
took place. This
explosión
was a
de una bomba
16-month-old
depositada
baby
en una estación de
who was the
ferrocarril.
victim of a
Desde
bomb
entonces,
that went off
España ha
in a
sufrido
railway
más de
station, and
800
since
víctimas
then we've had
mortales
more than
a manos
800
de los
mortal
terroristas
victims
de ETA.
at the hands of ETA
Desde el
terrorists.
punto de vista
Now,
externo,
from the
son
external
muchos los
point of
atentados que
view,
hemos
many
sufrido,
attacks,
especialmente memorable
we
el
have
atentado
suffered
de
many
Madrid
attacks.
del
There's
11 de
the
marzo de
Madrid
2004,
attack
en que
of
murieron
March
190
2004,
personas, la mayoría
in
de
which
origen
more than
humilde,
100
que se
people
dirigían a su trabajo en los
were
trenes de
killed,
cercanía.
many of them just going
Las
to
lecciones que
work.
podemos extraer y que
Now,
pueden
the
ser
lessons
útiles
that we
para
can
la comunidad
extract from this, and
internacional
which
son
could be
5.
useful for the international
En primer
community, are
lugar, como
5
dije
in
ayer, con
number.
los
First, as I
terroristas
said
no se negocia,
yesterday,
se
we
les
don't
derrota.
negotiate with terrorists, we destroy them.
Segundo, se les derrota con la ley,
Secondly,
solo con la ley,
we
pero con
beat
toda
them
la ley.
through law, only
En
law,
tercer
but
lugar, es
all the laws.
absolutamente necesaria la
It's
cooperación
absolutely necessary to
internacional,
have international
cooperación en materia de
cooperation in
información,
terms of
de
intelligence,
coordinación de las fuerzas de
coordination
seguridad
of
y
security
de
forces,
extradición de los
and in
asesinos
terms of
a la mayor
extradition
rapidez
of
posible.
murderers as fast
En
as
cuarto
possible.
lugar, es necesario
Fourthly,
la
it's necessary
implicación de
to
la sociedad
involve
civil. La
civil
experiencia
society.
española,
The
otra vez,
Spanish
la
experience, once
experiencia española,
again, the Spanish
dice que
experience
entre
says that
1960 y 1997 el asesinato de un concejal en el País Vasco,
the killing
las
in
víctimas
the
tenían que
Basque
ser
country
enterradas en el
showed
silencio y
that
en la
the
oscuridad,
victims
porque
are
muchas veces
normally
eran señaladas
buried in
como
silence
culpables
and
de su propia
anonymity.
desgracia.
Sometimes they're said to
Cuando
be
la
the
sociedad civil reaccionó, la
responsible for
cosa
their
empezó a
own
cambiar.
fate. But things have
Y en
changed.
último lugar, es necesario
Finally, it's
manifestar,
necessary to
mostrar,
demonstrate
desvelar
and
el
to
auténtico rostro de
show
los
the
asesinos.
real face of these
No son
murderers.
soldados,
They are
son,
not
repito,
soldiers.
criminales.
These are
No son
criminals.
creyentes, son
They are
blasfemos
not
porque la religión
believers.
siempre es lenguaje de paz.
They are always
Dicho eso,
against
y antes
religion and
de
the voice of
extrapolar
peace.
estas lecciones
Now
que
we
pueden
need to
ser
build
útiles a
on
la
these
comunidad
lessons,
internacional,
which can be
algunos
useful to the
apuntes sobre la
international
situación.
community. So a few comments on
En
this
Siria,
current
como se ha
situation in
recordado
Syria,
aquí,
as has been
llevamos ya más
said.
de 5 años
There's
de
been
guerra,
more than 5 years of
250.000
war.
muertos,
250,000
millones y medio
killed,
de personas
2.5
necesitadas de
million
una ayuda
people who
urgente,
need urgent
8
humanitarian
millones de
assistance, 8
desplazados en el
million
interior y
IDPs,
4
and
millones de
4
refugiados
million
fuera,
refugees
en
outside the
Jordania,
country, in
en Turquía y en
Jordan,
Líbano,
Turkey, and
que
Lebanon.
están colocando a estos países en
And these
situaciones
are this is putting
extraordinariamente
these
complejas.
countries in a very complex and
Quiero
difficult
recordar
situation.
aquí
I'd
que
like to
Líbano, que
recall the
tiene
fact
una
that
renta per
Lebanon, which
cápita
has
que
a
es un quinto
GDP which
de
is
la
a
Unión
fifth
Europea,
of the European
tiene
Union's,
un porcentaje de la
has
población
a
refugiada que
population
asciende al
of
25% del
its
total.
population, which is 25%
Jordania, no
refugees.
tengo que
Jordan,
insistir, quien haya
I
estado en
don't have
Qatar
to insist
sabe
on
lo
this.
que
We all
allí está
know,
pasando.
as we
Pero
just
lo más
heard, what
grave
is
de
happening
Siria
in Jordan,
es
but
que el
worse than
combate entre
Syria
las dos
is that the
fuerzas en
fight
Niza
between these two
ha abierto un vacío
forces
que ha
has
sido
led to a
aprovechado
vacuum
por Daesh
which
y por otras
Daesh
fuerzas
has used, as well as
afines a
other
Al-Qaeda
forces,
para intentar
Al-Qaeda,
establecer un
in order
califato
to
que
establish a
nos
caliphate
retrotraería a las épocas más
which
oscuras
would bring
del
us
medievo,
back to the most
utilizando, eso
obscure
sí, las técnicas más
eras of
modernas
the
de
past,
reclutamiento,
but using the most modern
financiación
systems of
y
recruitment,
difusión de sus macabras
financing,
hazañas.
and propaganda.
Segundo fenómeno que se ha
The
producido y
second
que estamos
phenomenon which we've
experimentando
seen
en
and which
estos
we've
últimos tiempos es un
experienced
flujo
over recent
masivo de
days
refugiados que tienen que
times
huir de
is the
su
massive
tierra para
flow
buscar la
of
libertad y
refugees who are seeking freedom. Now this questions the very foundations and the immigration and asylum policy of the EU. This means that we cannot
es necesario actuar y actuar
we must not wait
ya.
any longer, we must act, and we
En
must act
Libia nos
now.
encontramos también con
In
una
Libya also
situación
we
complicada.
find a very
Llevamos mucho
complicated
tiempo de guerra
situation.
entre dos
There's been a long
facciones,
period of
Trípoli
war
y Tobruk, para
between
simplificar que también
Tripoli
ha
and
sido
Tobruk,
aprovechada por Daesh para
and this
establecer
has been
sus banderas
used,
negras en
exploited
la
by
costa
Daesh
libia, que ha
to
provocado un
introduce
flujo
their
de migración
forces, and has
ilegal
led
que está
to a flow
poniendo
of
también en
migrants, which is
cuestión la
also
política de
questioning the
inmigración
very
europea.
immigration policy of the EU.
En Irak las cosas
Now,
van
in
un poco
Iraq,
mejor porque
things
desde
are a
nuestro
little bit
punto de vista
better because, as
contamos
we
con un
see it, we
gobierno
do
legítimo
have a
a
legitimate
cuya petición
government
hemos accedido a mandar
who's on our
efectivos militares.
request.
Per request, we will stop playing the C-SPAN security video and give you a little bit of Donald Trump from earlier today.
Let's win by a lot, but we're way up. Another one, morning consult. We're at 36. Ben is at 12. Carly's at 10. Marco is at 9. And Ted Cruz is at 7. So that's pretty good, right? We're 36 to 12. Reuters is 31 to 14 to 8 for Jeb. Oh, Jeb got in there. Good. And Mike Huckabee, good guy, is at 7. So we're doing great there. You know the funny one, and I always say this, but it just sort of got finalized. I felt I did good in the debate, even though I was being asked too many questions, right? And the funny thing is, you know, for 2 hours, they're asking me question after question. Somebody said 47% were either to me or about me. In other words, well, they'll ask somebody like one of the other candidates, Donald Trump is not a good person. What do you think about it? I'm standing there like this. And then in the final 45 minutes, they couldn't ask me any questions because they asked me so many. It was embarrassing. I even apologized that I'm the one not doing it. And they said, Donald Trump decided to take off in the last part of the, and I'm saying, first of all, they made it from 2 hours to 3 hours, which is ridiculous. But they say Donald Trump took off. They didn't ask me any questions. I said, wait a minute. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to interrupt other people, especially since I've done it every day. So the polls just came out on the debate. And the Drudge poll, 680,000 votes. Drudge, which is he's an amazing guy. And it's Donald Trump, 51%, he won. Carly at 23%, who did a good job, by the way. Marco at 7, and Ted Cruz at 6. The Time Magazine poll, Time Magazine, I have no influence over Time Magazine, even though I was on the cover last week, right? But Time Magazine has Trump winning 55% for Trump, 20% for Carly, 7% for Marco Rubio. And I'm saying to myself, gee, I'm watching these shows, and they say Trump was okay, not great, maybe had an off night. I don't understand. I thought I did fine. And they were just trying to beat me up. Whew. But I thought we did good, and I think we're doing well. And the most important poll are like the one, the USA Suffolk, that just came out a couple of hours ago. That's fantastic. So I want to thank everybody in the room and the other rooms that are filled up, who we'll see in a little while. But those people. New Hampshire, I tell you what, it's an amazing place. It's a great, great state. It's a great state. A friend of mine from New York said, what are people from New Hampshire like? Can you believe these questions I get? I'm being honest. What are they like? I said, I'll tell you what they're like. They're just amazing people. They love the country. They love to work like me. I love the country. I love to work. We're all in the same boat. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to make America great again. That I can tell you. We're going to make it great again. You know, a thing came out. I was going to save it for a little bit later. But, you know, we made that horrible Iran deal. And I just wrote this down. I was watching one of the networks, and they said, we should have had the prisoners released, right? I mean, as part of the deal. In fact, we should have made a deal on knocking the hell out of ISIS in Syria as part of the deal. There are 100 things that we should have gotten. We're giving them $150 billion. We got nothing except defeat, because we don't win anymore as a country. We're going to win so much. We don't win anymore as a country. It's really embarrassing. So I actually tweeted this before. Do you believe this? Iran wants to trade our 3 prisoners. By the way, we have 4 prisoners. They're only talking about 3. The 4th, they're not even talking about. So they want to trade our 3 prisoners for 19 prisoners held by the United States and many other things. I mean, how stupid are we? How stupid are we? And it's just going to change. It's going to change. It's just going to change. So embarrassing. Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl. They get 5 killers that they wanted so badly. You remember Bergdahl? He left. He deserted. And we had 5 and probably 6 people killed going after him. And the other day I read for the first time, well, he wasn't feeling well. He may not be psychological. Who the hell cares? And they think he might get off with nothing. 6 people died. 6 people. And he was a deserter. Now, in the old days, when we were strong, what did we do with deserters? That's right. There was no deserting. You deserted, you had problems. He deserts, well, he's got psychological. You know, we'll let him off. He's a nice person, right? I don't think so. So, a lot of the press has been nice to us in the last few days because we gave a very detailed tax policy where we substantially reduced taxes. Very substantial. And I'm going to go over it, but we're going to create a lot of jobs. We're taking jobs back from China and all these other countries that have just been ripping us. Mexico, China, Japan. We're going to be taking them back. But, you know, they were so happy in a certain way. They said, well, we want policy. So I gave policy on immigration, and they were sort of happy with that. They didn't necessarily agree with everything. A lot of people don't agree, build a wall. They say, you can't build a wall. How can you build a wall? It's going to be too expensive. Our trade deficit with Mexico is $45 billion a year. Don't forget I said Mexico. I love Mexico. I love the Mexican people. I have thousands and thousands of Mexican people that have worked with me over the years. Thousands. I have a great relationship. But their leaders, I say it all the time, are too smart for our leaders, too cunning, too sharp. And they're ripping us. So we have a deficit. Nabisco's moving. Nabisco. What's more United States than Nabisco? They're moving to Mexico from Chicago. They're going to make Oreos in Mexico. No, think of it. And then we have Ford Motor Company. $2.5 billion plant. You heard that story. I'm not going to tell it. Because if I do, they'll kill me. You know, I have all these live television sets. You know, every other candidate can go and make a speech. Every other candidate. And they make the same speech for months. But they have 100 people. For instance, Jeb Bush is down the road. They're expecting 125 people tonight. No, it's true. Now, I'm going to tell you, because we have been getting amazing crowds. We had 20,000 people on Friday in Oklahoma. 20,000 people. In Oklahoma, a great place. That was an amazing event. We had 20,000 people. We filled up a stadium, you know, where the Mavericks play. Mark Cuban, good guy. And he has the Mavericks, and it's called American Airlines Center. That's in Dallas. 20,000 people showed up. Some were so far up, I said, can you even see me? And we had 3 days to do it, because when we got it, in fact, when they said, you know, you could have that arena if you want it, I said, when? Monday night. This was like Thursday. I said, how can we fill it up? The first day they did 12,000 people. Then we went to Mobile, Alabama, as you know. Just before that, we had 35,000 people. It's been amazing. So tonight, and I want accurate counts, because these people, they don't count heads. You know, they'll say, yeah, the place was okay. The press, they are so By the way, pan out on these people, please. CNN and all of you live cameras, pan out. Because you know what they do? They have the camera, live television, on my face the entire amount. My wife goes, I go home. Were there any people there tonight, darling? They don't see, they never show the crowds. They never show, they don't want to. They don't want to. And this room, we have another room just as big, CNN and all the people. But, you know, it's so important. So, the fire marshal, the only reason, because we have a lot of people can't even get in. 3,564. That's what we have, exactly. And we love the fire marshals, but the fire marshal actually, right over here, the fire marshal said you can't have them in the aisles. No, it is a one-story building. If there's a problem, we get out of here. So I'll be the first one out the door, believe me. But they don't want to have them. So anyway, we have 3,564 people. We have closed circuit. It's amazing. It's great. And it's always like this, by the way. It's always like this. We did have one event, so beautiful, in South Carolina. I was called by a friend of mine who's African-American, a great guy. The South Carolina African-American Chamber of Commerce. He wrote the most beautiful letter tonight. I said I was going to read it to you. He put it in one of the papers. It was in one of the papers today. And there was a last-minute thing that said, would you speak? And I liked it. I'm speaking to the African-American Chamber of Commerce, South Carolina. I went, and actually, they didn't come from the back. They just formed in the front. It was beautiful. And they said it was the biggest crowd, the best crowd they've ever had. It was such a beautiful day. It was a lunch. And it was wonderful. And the cameras, because they were all up front, the cameras showed chairs in the back that were empty. Like, oh, Trump's lost it. Is Trump losing? And I just walked in and did him a favor. And these people were so angry at the way they were treated. African-American people that do such a great job. And you have to see the letter. Anybody wants it, we have them, because it was such a beautiful letter and so unfair the way they were treated and the event was treated. And that's why when I go to things like this, I like to have the press see what's going on, because there is a movement going on. This is more than like, oh, gee whiz, people show up. When Bush has 125 people, and when Rubio comes in and you have 12 people, it's true. And when all of the other ones, I don't want to say about everybody, because some of them I really like, but nobody has crowds like us. Nobody. Including Bernie, who does pretty well. No, nobody. And the fact is, something's happening. Something incredible is happening. So what's gone on is we put in policy on immigration, and that's build a wall. People have to come into the country legally, have to do it, have to do it, have to do it, or we don't have a country. The anchor babies, we're going to have to do something there. And by the way, when I first brought that up, you know, people come in, they're in the other side, they're on the other side of the border. They have a baby, they walk across the border, because nobody stops anybody. You know, it's like we're open territory. The woman has a baby on our land in the United States. Now we have to take care of that baby for 85 years. That baby becomes a citizen. And I said, it can't be. And everybody said, oh no, that baby is a citizen, born in the United States, born on our land. Turned out I'm right, because they're not coming in legally. And if you read the language, other than some television scholars that said, no, no, the baby's ours, we have to take care of the baby forever. People are coming from China. They're coming from all over Asia. They're coming from Latin America, South America. They're coming from Mexico. They walk across the border. It's ours. Doesn't read that way. And I didn't think, you know, they said, oh, you have to go through a whole big thing. Every state has to go to referendums. It's the 14th Amendment and so many different things, right? But it's not working that way. It's wrong. And I turned out to be right, because the real scholars said, he's right. Now, maybe it's going to, no, it's right. How can it be wrong? So this is something that's come up. We have to get rid of these sanctuary cities. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. Because I've had so many friends that I've made. First of all, you know, Kate, magnificent Kate, shot in the back and killed in San Francisco, sanctuary city. Can you believe it? I have property in San Francisco. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building. Can you believe it? I just feel I feel when I hear San Francisco, I always felt so good. Now you learn about sanctuary cities. The state of Florida had sanctuary cities while Jeb Bush was governor. Nobody said anything. And, you know, I've gotten very friendly, very, very friendly with a lot of the people because it's become a very important issue for me, the whole thing with illegal immigration and crime. It's far worse than anybody in this room understands. Far worse. Far worse. Tremendous people come in. But you have some terrible, terrible problem. The other week, as you saw, got a lot of press, a woman, 66-year-old veteran, raped, sodomized, and killed by an illegal immigrant. Just came in, killed her. 66-year-old veteran, killed her. And that's happening all over. We're going to stop it. We're going to stop it. We're going to have a wall. And I'm really good at walls, believe me. What I do great. I build. What I do better than anyone. That's why with the infrastructure of the country, it's falling apart. We're spending money all over the world. We don't even know where we're spending money. I was going to bring up today, they have a list of some of the dumb things that the country does. One of them was a washer. You know what a washer is? That's where the screw, you have the washer, get a little extra grip. So it was a 2-cent washer. And by the time it went from, I think it was South Carolina to Texas, it was this circuitous route. It cost $988,000 to have it delivered over a long period of time. There's so many things like that. There are so many things. There are item after item, hammers that you buy for $7, $8, selling for thousands, that we buy as a country for thousands of dollars. Some people are getting really rich. Who are these people that are making these deals? You're probably saying, maybe I do too. We want a part of these companies, right? Well, I want a piece of it. But where they're selling things that sell in a store for pennies, they're selling them for thousands of dollars. There's so much fat, so much fat. And I get a lot of credit for coming out with immigration. Some people don't agree. They think it's harsh. Some people think it's great. You know, Dwight Eisenhower was a wonderful general and a respected president, and he moved 1 million people out of the country. Nobody said anything about it. When Trump does it, it's like, oh. When Eisenhower does it, it's fine. Well, that was he was allowed to do it. You know, we can't do it. That was also in the 50s. Remember that. Different time. That's when we had a country. That's when we had a country. That's when we had borders. You know, without borders, you don't have a country, essentially. We don't have a country. Without borders, you just don't have it. But Dwight Eisenhower, there's big reports. And they used to take him out and put him on the other side of the border. Say, you have to stay here. And they come right back. And they do it again and do it again. And then they said, wait a minute, this doesn't work. And they took him out and moved him all the way south. All the way. And they never came back again. Because it was too far. Amazing. And I'm not saying this in a joking way. I'm saying this is what happened. It wasn't working. They were coming right back. And then they literally moved them all the way. And I have to tell you, a lot of the politicians, they never came back because it's too far. They would put them on boats and all the way down south. And that was it. But then a lot of things happened. And a lot of changes took place. And now we've become so politically correct as a country that we can't even walk. We can't think properly. We can't do anything. Every time you say something, oh, that was not politically correct. It wasn't politically correct. Nobody respects women more than I do, will tell you. And that's true. And I will do more. Thank you. It's true. My mother was the greatest person there was. But nobody respects women more than I do. And 2 weeks ago, I was making a speech. I said, I respect women. I cherish women. I do. I cherish women. And Hillary said, we don't want to be cherished. We want to be respected. I said that. Yeah. I think you want to be cherished, too. It's better than respect. It's everything. You want to be respected.
Thinky circles. Rachel has coined that term, the thinky circle term. Let's hope that our internet catches up to us.
You want to be loved, you want to be cherished, you want to be everything. I think. Am I right, women, or wrong? I mean, you know. And nobody cares more than I do. And I will tell you, women's health issues, where Jeb Bush recently said that he's not going to fund them. Then he said he misspoke. The word is misspoke. He misspoke. Can't misspeak. I mean, that's going to be so vital and so important. And we're going to take care of our women, but we're going to take care of our vets. We're going to take care of we're going to really take care of people. Because I know how to do it. We're going to bring jobs back into the country. We're going to become a rich country again. We're a poor country. We're a poor country. We're a debtor nation. We owe now $19 trillion. For a few months I've been saying 18. Now it's up to 19. We owe China $1.5 trillion. Think of it. They take our jobs. They take our base. They take our money. And we owe them $1.5 trillion. How does that work? That's like a magic act. We owe Japan the exact same amount, 1.5.
Oh, look at those. These are nice freeze frames, though. Momentary delay. I appreciate your patience. Maybe I should check to see if Kim Kardashian broke the internet.
$1 trillion. We owe them. They send millions of cars here. We pay for the cars. They, no tax, no nothing. By the way, try doing business in Japan. I always say, how many Chevrolets do you think you're going to find in the middle of Tokyo? Maybe none? Do you think none? There might be none. We sell them beef, and they don't want it. Beef. And they don't want it. They send it back. The farmers don't want it. So we owe Japan $1.5 trillion. Think of it. They sell us all these cars. We owe them money on top of everything else. It's going to stop. It's going to stop so easy. It's so easy. We have to balance out. I went to my people this week, and I said, I want to know something. I want to know how much do we, in terms of balance of trade, how much are we behind the 8 ball, the U.S. trade deficit, with China, Japan, and Mexico? Well, China, it's almost $400 billion a year. $400 billion! Japan is almost $70 billion a year, and Mexico, 45. 45 billion. Then they say, oh, you can't get Mexico to pay for the wall. It's $5 billion. Believe me, I'll build bigger, better, stronger for half the price. Much less than half the price. No, much less than half the price. Because I know how to build. I know, I'll watch it myself. Oh, it's going to be so beautiful. It's going to work so well. It's going to work so well. You see the picture of the big magazine this weekend? I knew the magazine because I was on the cover. That's the only reason I read it. But they have a wall like probably 8 or 9 feet. And they have a ramp going up and another ramp going down. They have cars and trucks going over, taking drugs. So here's the deal. We get the drugs, they get the money. These trucks go right over the ramp, over the wall. Can't do that when the wall is higher than the ceiling. Or it's a long way down if they miss that ramp, I'll tell you. It's a long way. And I don't blame. If people can get away with this stuff, let them get away with it. But we're going to make our country so strong and so beautiful. We're going to do it. So then I put in something on policy with regard to the Second Amendment. I'm a big Second Amendment person. And you've all seen it. And in 2 weeks, this is something that I've really gotten to know a lot about. We're going to take care of our vets. I'm going to put in a policy paper on the veterans and the Veterans Administration, and I know what to do. These guys, it's not even the money. We spend so much money, but we have all thieves, tremendous corruption. A few weeks ago on Wednesday, we had the longest wait in the history of the Veterans Administration. You're in a waiting room. They waited days to see a doctor. They're dying. You saw that. You saw the reports. Hard to believe. So many people are dying while they're waiting. They're dying. Things that can be taken care of with a pill, with a couple of visits, with maybe one visit, and they're dying. It's not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen anymore. So that's one I really look forward to. And that one is going to be, and I'll tell you just briefly, I mean, it's common sense. When they're waiting too long, they're going to go to a private doctor, a private hospital, public hospital, whatever the hell is in the city. We're going to pay the bill, and they're going to take care of these people. Okay? We're going to take care of them. So, and that's so important to me. I mean, because some of the greatest people, I've met some of the greatest people I've met on this trail. We call it the trail. Do you believe I'm a politician? I can't believe it. I'm so embarrassed. People say, you're a politician. I say, I hope not. But I guess in a certain way I am for a little while, and hopefully it works out, and we're going to do something that's going to be wonderful, and you're going to be very happy. So, good. Go ahead. You can go ahead. You know, it's funny. A few weeks ago, I got a great story, and they said he's a great speaker, wonderful public speaker, but he has one problem. He speaks through the applause. And I never thought of it, and I realized they're right. People start applauding. I start speaking, they immediately shut up. And I said, but you know why? Because I'm so excited to tell you about the next thing. There's so many things we have to do. There's not enough time to wait for the applause. It's true. And I speak through the applause, and I think I'll keep doing it because it's exciting to me, right? Does that make sense? So I appreciated the article. And the guy's right, actually, but although I don't know. Who knows? So what I did is we came up with a really great tax plan that has been really praised, and in some cases not. They said it's too big. It's too big. Got to put our country back to work. We have the highest taxes in the entire world. Highest in the world. Our corporations are leaving our country because the taxes are too high. And I did a very sophisticated, very beautifully detailed policy paper. Now, a lot of the press would say, prior to that especially, and the Second Amendment, and frankly immigration, they would say, oh, he talks well, but he doesn't talk well. I went to great schools. I'm like a smart person. It's like, oh, he doesn't talk details. So all of a sudden I'm speaking details, and even if they don't like the details, they appreciated that I gave them the details. I will tell you, the tax plan is, I think, really something we're proud of. And I'm going to go over it just quickly, because most of you have heard it, but it's going to help you. It's going to help in a lot of ways. Number one, it's going to help with jobs. It's going to help with jobs. It's going to put people to work. We're taking jobs back. We are going to have companies now come back into our country. We're going to have a lower tax rate than China. We're going to have a lower tax rate than many of these countries. You know what corporate inversion is? Corporate inversion is a disaster. Companies have billions, trillions, at least $2.5 trillion total outside of the country. Everybody agrees the money should be allowed to come back in. Republicans, Democrats, this has been going on for years. They still can't agree. They agree, but they can't come to a conclusion. And if we bring that $2.5 trillion, and I'll tell you it's a bigger number than that. And if it is, my plan's even better. But I'm letting it come in for a very reasonable price, meaning a very reasonable tax. Right now, the tax is so high, you can't bring it. If anybody was running one of those companies, you can't get it in. They work on paperwork, and they can't get it in. Smart, they have the greatest lawyers, can't get the money in. So I'm going to simplify it. I want the money to come in so that these companies, number one, don't go. You know what they do? A lot of them leave, you know this, in order to get the money. They actually move their company to Ireland, to other places in Europe, to other places in the world in order to get the money. And you have some big, incredible companies, big name companies, that are now thinking of leaving the United States to get the money and to get lower taxes. And there's really no way you can stop that. You can't say it's illegal, because they'll find a way around it. What stops it is the marketplace. The marketplace is going to stop it. So we're going to take care of that. But we have, and I sort of titled it, Tax Reform That Will Make America Great Again. Today they said it's very Reagan-esque. I consider that a great compliment. One of the writers said that. And thank you. And I start off, too few Americans are working. Too many jobs are being overseas. And too many middle-income families just cannot make ends meet. We all know it. And if it's not you, you know people where that's the case. My plan directly meets these challenges and the challenges also of business. We're going to make our businesses strong again. We're going to make them competitive again. And by the way, nothing to do with this, but we're going to get rid of the regulations that are mounting up like on a daily basis. It's ridiculous. Regulations are going to go the wayside. There will be some, but they'll be meaningful. There won't be the nonsense that every single day is happening. Every single day. The plan will provide major tax relief for middle income and most other Americans. Major tax relief. It'll totally simplify the tax code. We'll grow the American economy, and all of this will add up to a point where we're not going to be increasing our debt. If anything, if it really kicks in like I think it might, where the economy grows, we'll start reducing our debt, and reducing it big league, which I want to do. And again, I know the people I'm running against, and I know Democrats, Republicans. They can't do this, folks. I'm really good at it. Who's better at debt than I am? Who's better? Is there anybody? I've had borrowing so big, and I worked out perfectly. The company's bigger, better, stronger than ever before. That's what you need. You need somebody with whatever the hell that is, whatever that craziness is up there. You need that. You need that. You can't just be a politician, all talk, no action, they talk. They wouldn't know what to do with China. Carl Icahn, great entrepreneur. Everybody knows Carl Icahn. He came out yesterday. He said Trump is the only one that knows what he's talking about. And he's great. And I'll get him involved. I'll say, Carl, you handle China. And you know what I'll do? Just walk away. Don't worry. We'll do very well. We'll do very well. We're going to come out great. We're not going to have a $400 billion deficit. That'll go away very rapidly. And we'll get along. China doesn't even like us. You know, these countries, they rip us off. They don't even like us. With me, I'll stop the rip-off, and they'll like us. Can you believe it? Hard to believe, but that's what will happen. So, in the plan, we're going to cut the individual rates from, and this is very important. Number one, we're cutting down from 7 brackets to 4, and the rates are going from 25 to 20 to 10 and to 0. When somebody's not making enough to live, what's the purpose of them doing lengthy returns, going to get help from H&R Block, who we intend to put out of business because it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. In order to pay us, well, I mean, these people need help. They're not doing well. So what's the purpose? Plus the bookkeeping, it'll be a tremendous percentage, but and some are not paying now anyway, but they have to go through this process. It's brutal. So we're going to simplify, but think of it, 25%, 20%, and 10%. And that's a major reduction.
Well, I don't understand why this has to be such an issue, and I apologize. What I can tell you is that Empire is on Fox 10. And if you are as big of a fan as I am, perhaps you should be tuning in and gearing up for our 9 p.m. broadcast, which is just half an hour away with John Hook and Carrie Lake, who just wandered in from a special dinner with Dave Muncy. So, I wonder if they'll have even more fun giggles and stories for you on the 9 in regards to Dave Muncy. Waiting on the buffer. We are waiting on the buffer. Thank you so much for your patience. I do think that you would prefer this over what we had on earlier, which was we were having some difficulties in interpreting the UN security meeting. So I apologize for that, and I apologize for my buffer status on this Donald Trump video. We'll wait it out together. It's like waiting for a package from Amazon.
Now, some people say it's too big a reduction. Some of the great geniuses that haven't made $1 in their life, not $1, they haven't created one job. Well, I think it's too much. The only dollars they get is from their mouth. Then, if you're single and earn less than $25,000, or married and jointly earn less than $50,000, you will not pay any income tax. Okay? You won't, if that's the way it is. What's the purpose? What is the purpose? We eliminate the marriage penalty, which is a killer for so many people. A killer. What's the purpose of that? And by the way, everyone agrees and they can't get it done. We eliminate the AMT, which is the alternative minimum tax. We eliminate it. We end the death tax. It's a double taxation. It's a double taxation. I mean, a lot of you, as an example, in New Hampshire, you have a store, you have a little building, you have you leave it to your kids. The kids get a tax bill where they have to pay 35 and even 50% in estate taxes. Now they mortgage up the business. The bank ends up taking it over because they have to pay the estate taxes. And you've been paying taxes all the while. It's double taxation, and it has to end. So many businesses have been destroyed by the death tax or the estate tax, as people like to call it. But so many businesses. So it's very important. Our plan reduces and or totally eliminates most of the deductions and loopholes available to special interests, who, by the way, are supporting Bush and Rubio, and most of them, and Hillary, big league Hillary, big league Bush. You know, Bush is going to spend $100 million on ads. That money comes from friends of mine. They're friends. I know some are enemies. Some of them I don't like at all. Actually, many of them I don't like. But when you see an ad, every time you see an ad from Rubio or Bush or Hillary, remember that money's coming from special interests and lobbyists. And when they want something done in a year from now, 2 years from now, if they ever get in, be sad. Won't that be sad? If Trump doesn't make it, won't that be a terrible thing? But when that money gets spent on, millions, 25 million, Jeb today put in an order, I hear, 25 million for ads. Well, what do you do when you're weak on immigration and you're in favor of Common Core? How do you solve that problem with ads? I don't think you solve it. Rubio, the same thing. He's very, very, very weak on immigration. A member of the Gang of Eight, totally weak on immigration. How do you solve a problem when you say people can just pour in? Made a speech not so long ago in Spanish saying he wants to open up the borders, essentially. He didn't want you people hearing it, so he made the speech in Spanish. No, it's true. But he's very weak on illegal immigration. And I don't think, I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but whether you're Rubio or Bush, I have to tell you one story. Do you mind? So Bush is the mentor of Rubio. And everybody said, this is politics at its lowest and worst. I can't stand these politicians, right? So Bush is the mentor. And he goes out, and he says, yes, and he pushed, and everybody said Rubio will never run because it would be disrespectful to his mentor. And I understand that. It's called loyalty, right? I mean, that's sort of nice. Hello, folks, how are you? That's sort of nice, right? You're loyal. I believe in that. So everyone said Rubio will never run. The great genius pundits, they're on Fox and CNN and MS, and they're all there. And, oh, no, he'll never run. He runs. They're all wrong. Very disloyal. It was disloyal. He was very young. He runs. And they ask Bush, what do you think of Rubio? Rubio comes out and he's talking about Bush and, What do you think of Rubio? He's my dear friend. He's so wonderful. I love him so much. Then they ask Rubio, who's running against Bush? And he, probably shouldn't be from a loyalty standpoint. The veterans know what I mean about loyalty, right? 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 So they ask Rubio, what do you think of Bush? Oh, he's my dear friend. Wonderful, just one. They hate each other. They hate. Trust me, I know. They hate so much. They hate more than anybody in this room hates their neighbor. But it's political bullshit. Do you understand? It's true. It's true. So, let's go. So we're going to reduce or eliminate most of the deductions, loopholes available to special interests and the very rich. Me, I don't like that. Maybe I'll change my mind on that one. I don't know. It's going to cost me a lot. While preserving charitable giving, which is important, and giving mortgage interest deductions, we want to leave the mortgage interest. A couple of the plans, yeah, you got to have it. A lot of people were worried about real estate. Try taking the mortgage interest deduction out. You'll see what's going to happen to real estate. You want to see a crash? Try that one. So we end the current tax treatment of carried interest. It's a little complicated stuff, but the business folks know what that means. For speculative partnerships that do not grow businesses or create jobs and are not risking their own capital. That's what happens. They get this big thing. They're not risking their own capital. And it's a big number. Somebody said it's not so big. It's a big number, but it's a big number up here. It's a big number psychologically. Big, big number psychologically. So we have to do that. And a lot of the hedge fund guys are not happy with me right now. But the nice part, they didn't give me anything. They want to. As soon as you go to number one of the poll, it's amazing how many guys call up, Don, I love you very much. I'd like to make a contribution. I don't want it. Am I making a mistake? I feel sort of like it's not natural to me. I'm turning down a lot of money, believe me. I hope it's appreciated someday. No, honestly. Because if I turn down tens of millions of dollars and I lose, I will feel so stupid. Really. I say, what didn't matter? So I hope it's appreciated. No business of any size, from a Fortune 500 company to a mom and pop shop. How many people own a shop? Raise your hand. Great business, right? Okay. Well, you're in the same category now because the taxes are too high. Is that right? So no business of any size, from a Fortune 500 company to a mom and pop shop to a freelancer, and you have a lot of them up in New Hampshire, freelancers, plenty of freelancers, living from gig to gig will pay more than 15% of their business income in taxes. We're not going to take all the money away anymore. And people aren't going to create jobs if you do that. So we're going to have job. This is a job creator. This is real. This will be really dynamic. This will be something special. Now, a lot of people that don't know, they don't get it. But many people that do really get it. A one-time deemed repatriation, that's what I was talking about, all the money coming back in, of the corporate cash held overseas at a significantly discounted rate of 10%. In other words, they're bringing it over, we're going to tax them 10%. They're going to have the money in our country instead of having it overseas. Tax rate of 10%, and ends to the deferral of taxes on corporate income earned abroad. So that what you're going to do is you're going to have tremendous incentives for people even if they're doing business abroad. But you're going to bring the money back into the United States, and they're going to put the money back to work, even if they just give it out in dividends, because the people getting the dividends are going to spend the money. And you're talking about trillions of dollars are over there. Trillions of dollars. And believe me, mark my words, I told you before, they say it's 2.5 trillion. I say it's much more than that. Nobody even knows. So corporate inversion, we're going to stop, and we're going to have companies not leave. In the old days, people would leave New York and they go to Florida. Or they'd leave New Jersey, they go to Texas, where the taxes are lower. Now, they leave the United States and they go to Ireland and they go to other countries where they have lower tax rates and other things. But with what I'm doing, they're not going to be leaving anymore. And we don't have to say, boom, you're staying. They're not going to leave anymore. So it really works. What we want to do now is reduce or eliminate many of the business loopholes, because we're lowering the taxes so much that we can get rid of these tremendously complicated loopholes. And in the end, the business taxes are going to be lower than they were before substantially, but you're not going to have accountants where you have tax returns that go up to the ceiling if you have a business. It's going to be simple. It's going to be less taxes, and it's going to be simple. So we're going to be in a position to do some amazing things. And I've gotten just so many people are so thrilled with what I said about taxes, and I thought I'd review it for you. I did this the other day at Trump Tower, and we had a great turnout, and as I said, we had just amazing response. So let's talk a little bit about ISIS, and let's talk about our country. We spent, thank you, we spent so much money in the Middle East. Just spent trillions. Just in Iraq, $2 trillion. Just in Iraq. Not to mention, even more importantly, the lives and the wounded warriors who I love. These are the greatest of all. We don't take care of them properly, but these are the greatest of them all, the wounded warriors. So we have a president who doesn't know what he's doing. We have a president who looked like, you remember he said they were the JV, that ISIS was the JV? Well, he looked like the JV last week when you compared him to Putin in New York, the JV. So now we have Putin said, I'm going into Syria, and I'm going to knock the hell out of ISIS, he said. And I'm saying, what's so bad with that? You know, is there anything wrong? That's okay. It's all right. But I also say, we want to be strong. We can't let him push us around. The problem we have is we have a president who is not respected by Putin. Just not respected. He leaves New York, leaves the United Nations. A couple of days later, he's got massive amounts of artillery and planes and everything else, all very quickly done. We would never act like that. We would never act like that. I saw one of your generals, I won't mention his name, one of your top generals the other day, active. They said, what do you do about ISIS? Can we win? That was the question. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think General George Patton would say, I don't know? Do you think he'd say that? I don't know. He'd smack the reporter in the face, kick him in the lips, He would give a smack to that guy. Or General Douglas MacArthur. The highest marks in the, I'm a big person for academia. I believe in it. The highest marks in the history of West Point, General MacArthur, a great general. Can you imagine him saying, I don't know what we do about it? These guys know. The good ones, they know. But we have people that don't know. Either they don't know or they're being so constrained by politics that they're afraid to say. But we have to be tough and we have to be smart. At the same time, I want to rebuild this country. We have bridges that are falling down. We have 60% of our bridges are in danger. 60%. We have roadways that are coming apart. We have airports that are third world. I mean, you go over to Qatar, you go over to Saudi Arabia, you go over to some of these countries, China, you see airports the likes of which you have never, ever seen before. And then you come back and you land at LaGuardia. It's true, potholes, potholes. You land at LaGuardia or Newark or LAX, and you walk into a filthy terminal that's falling apart with broken terrazzo floors. And that's what we have. We used to be the leader. We have to rebuild our own country. And you know, when you owe $19 trillion and you want to take care of the vets and you want to build up the military, because I will build up the military so big, so strong. Nobody's going to mess with us. Nobody. Nobody. Now, with that being said, but you have to know when to use it. You have to know when, right? I mean, you have to know when. So in 2004 and 2003, I said, don't go into Iraq. I didn't know that much about Iraq, but I knew this. Iraq and Iran are always fighting, and they're equals. They go 10 feet this way, they go 10 feet this way, then they use poison gas, or Saddam Hussein, who was terrible. Then the other side uses, but then they rest for a few years. Then they start fighting. Nobody ever moves, right? Is that right? So I said, I don't know if they have weapons of mass destruction. Turned out to be false. But if they do, they're going to use it on Iran. Okay? That was Iraq. But if you ruin one of those two powerful agents, the other one's going to take over, and it's going to be a disaster in the Middle East. You're going to have a totally destabilized Middle East. That was in Reuters, 2004, in June or July. A big story. Trump opposed to doing it. Now, again, I'm the most militaristic person in this room, but you got to know when to use it. It's like also, I said, well, wait a minute. Of all of these guys that blew up the World Trade Center, they all went back to Saudi Arabia, the families. They sent their families back a day early to Saudi Arabia. I said, but why are we going after Iraq right now? The families went back to Saudi Arabia. They didn't go back to Iraq. I think one might have. Nobody knows. We know nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing. But I said, you're going to destabilize the Middle East. So here's what happens. We totally wiped out Iraq, totally destabilized the Middle East, gave other people ideas that you can actually knock these things out. Iran, as you sit here tonight, is taking over Iraq, which, by the way, has one of the richest oil reserves in the world. Their oil is unbelievable in Iraq. Underground. One of the biggest in the world. So they totally take over, and they're going to very soon. So we spend all this money, all these lives, all these wounded warriors. We get nothing. We got nothing because we have stupid leadership. Now, if you know anything about the Soviet Union, if you want the real truth, the Soviet Union broke up because they spent so much money in Afghanistan. Okay? They spent so much money that they were going bust. And that's the primary reason, or certainly one of the primary reasons, that the Soviet Union broke up. The Afghanistani people, great fighters, always have been known. I have a friend of mine, he's a big war historian. Among the best fighters, Afghanistan. So the Soviet Union, so now we have the Soviet Union wants to go to Syria. And they want to knock the hell out of people. And we're fighting Assad, because Assad's our enemy, and we're fighting Syria. Now, Syria wants to fight Assad. Think of this. Just put it together. You know, a lot of people, I get a little credit. They say, oh, that's not really nice what he said. Give me a break. So you have ISIS that wants to take on Assad. So we're fighting ISIS, but we want to fight Assad. Why don't you let those two fight for a little while? And take over the remnants. Right? I mean, I guarantee you that Assad is sitting back saying that president is one of the dumbest human beings on earth. It's true. So you have ISIS that wants to fight Assad, and ISIS can't because we're bombing them. We're not doing the job, but we're certainly, hurting them. So they're not going after Assad. Now you have Russia and Iran. Now Iran became powerful because we gave them so much money, aside from the nuclear, which they will have, believe me. But we gave them $150 billion now. So now they're feeling they're going to be a terrorist all over the world. They have so much money. And to them, $150 billion, that's real money. With us, not the same. So now you have Iran and you have Russia on the side of Assad. But they both want, Russia does want ISIS out because they don't want them coming into Russia. They don't want them crossing borders, and they don't want them coming into Russia. You have the migration because Syria is such a disaster. And now I hear we want to take in 200,000 Syrians, right? And they could be, listen, they could be ISIS. I don't know. Did you ever see a migration like that? They're all men. And they're all strong-looking guys. Did you see it? They're walking, and there's so many men, there aren't that many women. And I'm saying to myself, why aren't they fighting to save Syria? Why are they migrating all over Europe? Seriously. So now you have this guy, Secretary Kerry, maybe the worst negotiator. I think he will go down as a worse Secretary of State than Hillary Clinton because of the deal. And she was terrible, but I think he's going to go down as worse because of this deal. So now you have him saying, we're going to take in maybe, I mean, the number I'm hearing, it's inconceivable. You know, it started off with 10,000. The other day I heard 200,000. We're going to take in 200,000 Syrians or wherever they come from. We have no idea. There's no identification. There's no anything. And I'll tell you right now, and I'm putting everybody on notice, and hopefully this gets outside of this room, and I guess it will with all these crazy cameras going back there. I'm putting the people on notice that are coming here from Syria as part of this mass migration, that if I win, they're going back. They're going back. I'm telling you. They're going back. Because, you know, military tactics are very interesting. This could be one of the great tactical ploys of all time. A 200,000-man army, maybe. Or if you said 50,000 or 80,000 or 100,000, we got problems. And that could be possible. I don't know that it is, but it could be possible. So they're going back. They're going back. I'm just telling them. So if they come, that's great. And if I lose, I guess they're staying. But if I win, they're going back. And I know a lot of people would say, oh, that's not nice. We can't afford to be nice. We're taking care of the whole world. We're losing our shirts on everything we do. Everything we do. So tonight I'm doing a show on CNN at 10 o'clock. And the question was asked to me, why don't you give us policy? Policy with respect to your attitudes on war in the Middle East. Why don't you tell us exactly what you're going to do in Syria, what you're going to do in Iraq? What? I said, I don't want to tell you. It sounds terrible. I really know a lot about it. I think my biggest, other than jobs, everybody says, you know, CNN did a poll. I'm through the roof on jobs, through the roof on leadership, through the roof on almost everything, other than some people don't think I'm a nice person. I'm sort of low on that. But, you know, ultimately, I am a nice person. I love people. I want to help people. But, you know, thank you. You know, actually, you know where I do my best favorables? In New Hampshire, Iowa, and South Carolina, because they got to know me. I'm here so much. Those are the places. So once I get out, I think people will find out. You know what? I just want to do the right thing. And I tell the story about a woman said, do you think you're nice enough to be? I said, I think it's going to be about competence this time. People are tired of being pushed around. They're tired of it. But I said to this person, nice person, Don Lemon, I said, Don, I want to be unpredictable. I had an article about, not so long ago, a business article. And I beat some group of people. I love winning. Oh, I love it. And I beat this group for something that everybody wanted. I just beat them. and it turned out to be great. And one of my opponents, not in a bad way, but in a very respectful way, said, you know, the thing about Trump that's really hard, he's so damn unpredictable. We don't know what the hell he's going to do. And I said, I want to be unpredictable. I want to be. So when they ask me, and so does Patton, and so does MacArthur, and so does anybody that's smart. So when they ask me about, like, what do I want to do with Syria? I know what I want to do. Believe me, you're going to be happy. But I don't want to tell. I don't want them to say, oh, well, Trump's going to do this, so we'll do this. I want to be unpredictable. So important. It's so important. I mean, it just, we have to do it. Does everybody agree with me? And maybe if you're unpredictable, the stupid people are going to say, oh, well, he doesn't know that much. You know, hey, when Obama said, we're leaving Iraq on a certain date. Now, you understand, these Iraq soldiers, that comprised ISIS. These were guys that formed ISIS. These are tough cookies. They didn't like us, and they didn't really want to fight for Iraq because Iraq is a corrupt government, you know. Remember when they were handing $50 million of cash? Cash! They were going through Afghanistan, paying off. I want to know, who are the soldiers that are carrying cash of $50 million? Cash! How stupid are we? I wouldn't be surprised. Those soldiers, I wouldn't be that surprised if the cash didn't get there. I have to be honest. But remember when Obama was saying, we will leave. We are leaving Iraq as of a certain date. Now, the opponents said, wow, that's great. What do we have to fight anymore for? Let's just wait a year and a half. That's what happened. And then as soon as we left, they knocked the shit out of everybody. Right? They just knocked the hell out of everybody. Obama, this great president of ours, we will leave. Remember, he gave a certain date. A date certain. We will be out. And these tough guys, these are tough fighters, especially when they have something they want to fight for. They didn't want to fight for a corrupt government, but he gave a certain date. So I want to be unpredictable, okay? I would never have given a date. I might have said, we're going to stay there for 20 years, we're going to stay there for eternity. And these other guys would say, oh, man, we give up. It's just, we just can't do this. No, honestly, they would have said it. We were doing fine. I mean, look, we shouldn't have been there, but we were doing okay toward the end, and then we took everybody out. But instead, if you would have said, no, no, we're going to be there forever, and I didn't want to go in, but I would have said, no, we're never leaving. We're never leaving. They would have said, okay, this guy's crazy. We're out of here. Don't we want that as a thing, right? So I love the people of New Hampshire. I love you. I love the people of this country. And I didn't really want to do this. I did something. I have this. People actually thought I wouldn't run because they'd say, why would he do this? It's hard, nasty. The press is horrible. Not all of it, but horrible. You know, it's hard. And they say, why would he do it? I do it because we have a chance to make this country greater than it's ever been before. I really believe that. And if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. The one thing I will warn you about, I don't think we can go on like this much longer. I really don't. I think this election is so important, beyond important, because we cannot continue to go on like we're going on right now. We need a real leader. We want somebody that loves the country, truly loves the country, truly wants to make it work. And I can promise you this. I can promise you this. If I get elected president, we will indeed make America great again. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank Thank you very much, everybody. We love you all. Thank you. Thank you.
And there's that music we're not allowed to play. I was just talking to Dave Muncy. I showed him this tweet to make him laugh. I'm not, as most of you know, I'm dieting again because I feeling pretty disgusted with myself. It's hard when you're in a newsroom all the time to find your way to a gym. That will be my excuse. But I just showed Dave this tweet that made him laugh. When you're on Jenny Craig but decide to eat a handful of icing off of Fox 10 Dave's 40th or 40-year anniversary cake. Do you want to see pictures of Dave actually distributing the cake? He sat in there and distributed it. It was adorable. It's like when your dad cuts the Christmas ham. Look at this adorbs picture. This is Dave cutting the cake. We love you, Fox 10 Dave. Happy 40 years. And it's his face. So that was fun today. And I said, Dave, I mean this respectfully. You are a hot young man. And he said, my wife said that this morning too. She said, you used to be hot. He said, that's what happens when you get older. I said, it's not that you're no longer good looking, Dave. You are just handsome now. You've matured. So sweet. He's so sweet. He's gearing up for the 9 o'clock, and you should be too, because we are 1 minute away. I'm actually watching Carrie Lake mic up right now. John Hook actually isn't. John Hook is just barely getting up. How are they just... I guess we've got plenty of time, guys. Because this is... John's still hanging out. Sounds like he's having a serious conversation, so I'll let him confirm. But yeah, we're gonna be on TV any second now, I think. I mean, I'm still looking at my anchors, so I hope. John Hook, you need me to do the show for you tonight? No. He's not in the studio yet. Not in the studio yet. He forgot the jacket. He's gone. He's going. He's in. He's in. He's in. He's in. He's in. We're ready to go. Turn on channel 10 if you're local and watch our local television news broadcast with John Hook and Carrie Lake and Dave Muncy for 40 years. Don't forget to watch the 10 with Troy Hayden. That's a very important program. And Troy Hayden was just voted best anchor by Phoenix Magazine. Download our app. It's free, and you can receive text alerts every time there's breaking news. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook so we can stay connected all the time, even on Saturdays and Sundays when we typically don't have Fox 10 News now. You can know what's going on in the world in Phoenix. Thank you so much for watching this program. I will see you tomorrow, along with Samya and Mikey.